And welcome to Calling the Audible in remote locations, as we're in 3 different locations here in lovely. Well, we're not in the shipping container right now, are we, Eggs? Huh?
No armpit of Montreal here. We're in our beautiful respective neighborhoods.
No, we're in the deodorant part of Montreal right now.
You guys could have gone to the same place and done a show together in person.
Well, we could have, right? But given the differing stories that we have, PZ's off this week because of work. You came back from Austin, Texas, which is the home
Literally
of...
off a plane 3 hours ago.
3 hours ago. How long was that flight, Eagle, from Austin?
There's no direct, so you have to do a connection. So total, it was 7 hours.
So you went from Austin
And I had to go through O'Hare. Ugh.
Oh, Chicago.
Oh, that's not bad.
Chicago's the worst. I'd rather go through anywhere else. I hate O'Hare.
Detroit's one of the best ones.
Yeah. Is it really? I heard New Orleans is really good.
Detroit for the restaurant options, yeah. But
yeah. Iggy, you are the connoisseur for food when it comes to the roads. Was it roadhouses out there in lovely Midwest USA?
Yeah, the Texas Roadhouse. Yeah,
exactly,
fan favorite. Exactly. Yeah.
So Iggy also, of course, was a bit under the weather, and I was under the weather last week. So we wanted to take it safe here and go through a remote edition this week, and we'll be back in the armpits next week, as we're now, gentlemen, in the final turn of games, which means that playoffs aren't too far away, and that means Eagle will be stressing every single second for the next 3-4 weeks, because he's going to be asked various questions from PZ and myself. Eagle, what about this scenario? Eagle, what about that scenario? If this team wins this game, what happens in this game if they don't win that game, and so on and so forth. So Eagle will be the whole brain to this operation that we'll have coming up.
I still remember the year that I did all the scenarios with like a gigantic matrix and all the possibilities, because there were like 6 teams that were still eligible for playoffs in the last spot or something. And so I ran all the simulations and the probabilities of each one of them, but it all depended on one team winning a game, of which they didn't. And so all my work went to shit and I never did it again.
So that's the unpredictability of FPF, right? So just a reminder before we get going here, Iggs, any league announcements that we have to remind people in the next couple? I know spring season registration is officially open. Is that correct?
Yeah. So spring season is it's not officially open just yet. I believe it opens Monday officially. There are new ratings that have been processed as of the end of week 7. So anything that you did in this week 8 doesn't count towards the current iteration of the ratings. That being said, the plan is we are going to do a second round of calculations at the end of the season to update players because, and I'm not going to go into the specific details, but there is like a per game style of analysis done in terms of getting your ratings. So if you have either really poor last games or really good last games, there's a possibility that your rating will change. Similarly, we had to lower the minimum game threshold to be rated based on the fact that we were doing like a prorated part of the season. So again, maybe you got a new rating this time around, but you won't have enough games for the final evaluation, or vice versa. You'll have more games, in which case your averages are going to equal out or whatever it's going to be. So we got to do it again, but it's more just to give teams an idea in terms of where you're likely to place, because we don't want you to use the winter ratings as your starting point. If you had a great season and you get bumped up, we want you to know you're likely going to get bumped up to have an idea for that.
And of course, for the spring season, we're looking at an early June-ish kickoff for the spring season. We would imagine, right? So
that's
a short
my
turnover.
Understanding, yeah. We did have discussions internally regarding the exact start date. My recollection is it would be Sunday, June 5th.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's confirmed. So I don't.
There goes our vacation time in between seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know there are some other conversations too in terms of shortening the season by having double headers on a few weeks so we can get back on track. I also don't. Yeah. So spring season to start June 5th officially. It's been announced at this point. Registration to open April 12th. Rob, you fucked up. But it's we're ready to go.
Okay, perfect. As we bleep up this whole show, let's dive into it, Iggy. You and I, as you have your Sour Patch Kids, as you can put that as your screen, your headshot for the entire show.
Yeah, Eagle
will be like distracted by that Sour Patch Kids bag over there. So let's dive into it here. Let's go to Div 1, Div 2 as we get ready for the final 2 weeks of their season here. Before we get into it, though, Great game we had yesterday with Gryffindor and All Stars, with the All Stars pulling off a smash and grab, winning pretty much at the death of the game. We do have the highlight. Which will give a good idea of how that Chris Meard touchdown happened. So there you go. If you don't mind setting up that highlight that we have lined up here for the game-winning touchdown, here it is.
No, there's a commercial.
Commercial. This is not the highlight, but this is a pretty good promo for your
spring season. Yeah.
Here we go. And there's no commentary.
No audio. Yeah.
We
hear it on the feed. You don't hear it.
Okay. Enough then. Okay, so as you see, Henry Ruggs scoring the game-winning touchdown. That is the exact same thing that happened yesterday on Wednesday night at Hebert with Chris Meard scoring the touchdown against Gryffindor. So let's go back and what happened, right? Gryffindor were down by a couple scores. They come back to take the lead late in the game with 3 plays left in the football matchup. They score the go-ahead touchdown from Jalen Greaves, and it appears that with so little plays left, that Gryffindor was going to pull off the win and open up that first seed and second seed to them to perhaps pull off and get into that top 2 conversation. However, on the ensuing play, Kevin Wyeth, and I said to myself, as that ball was let go, I said, oh my. As Chris Meard blew right by Rashawn Perry and the deep safety, who I believe was Jalen Greaves, for the game-winning touchdown. They had 1 play left to make a chance at it, but came up short for Gryffindor. But, Iggy, All-Stars pull off a smash and grab, and that play that we saw from Henry Ruggs was a carbon copy of the Chris Meard touchdown that happened on Wednesday nights.
So to be clear, though, this wasn't a Greg Williams bad defensive call fuck-up, right? The call was correct. It's just a couple people just blew coverage.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Was there a stumble or two, or like...
No, I don't know what was seen by Rashawn Perry and Jalen Greaves. I think they were anticipating that maybe Wyeth would work with 2 plays left at the time. Go for a 10-yard gain to make it a little bit closer towards the end zone.
Cut the field in half, yeah.
Exactly. And I was at an angle where I positioned myself in the sidelines on the left side of field 3. When that ball, I could see the release of the ball, I said, oh my God, that's going to go for a touchdown. And whatever happened, the communication was not there with Rashawn Perry and Jalen Greaves. And what happened? Chris Meard scored the game-winning touchdown. And it felt like it was a real smash and grab by All-Stars, because Gryffindor came back and they put up a good fight. And you can see by the stats from Lazara and from Wyeth that they both put up almost 600 yards passing that matchup.
Monster numbers, yeah.
It was crazy numbers by both quarterbacks. But let's not forget, the All-Stars were missing their guys, as was Gryffindor. They were missing Jarrett Tilley, who was not available. All-Stars were missing Malak Fella along with Keyshawn Thompson. So both teams weren't at full strength. But, Iggy, at the end of the day, though, that loss could end up being, we've seen an All-Stars versus Gryffindor first-round matchup in the Div 1 playoffs in a few weeks' time from now.
Yeah, and if I'm All-Stars, I don't like that as my first-round playoff, right? But there is that double elimination, is there not, in Division 1?
I believe we changed that, actually, which was brought to my attention, Eagle. I don't know if that has been notified to you as well by the powers to be at FPF.
I have not been informed of any changes. Other than, shit, guys, I really got to fix this next year.
Yeah, according to the playoff breakdown, in Division 1, the top 4 teams qualify. The semifinal will feature seeds 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3.
But that's it.
Okay. So I assume that this is now the current playoff iteration that we'll go with moving forward.
Right. So God Skills, yeah. So God Skills is that's it. They're done, right? They can't make it. So we have our 4 playoff teams set. Yeah, if I'm All-Stars, and it looks like, they've wrapped up the number 1 seed, or
not yet.
Because it depends if they lose, right?
Exactly.
They'll be in a tie, and do they have the tiebreaker over Flagmont?
So they do have the tiebreaker. They beat them week 1, right? But again, they All-Stars will play Gryffindor in a reverse fixture next week when they come back from the Easter break. So let's just say hypothetically, Iggy, that Gryffindor wins that matchup.
Yeah,
that means it opens up that door for Flagmont Sack to maybe get that 1 seed again. because look who's in the 3-hole right now, the Braves. And Eggs, you talk about not wanting to play in the Gryffindor team. This Braves team, I still wouldn't want to play as your first-round opponent in the playoffs if it's a 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3 matchup.
No, absolutely not. That's the Division 1 this year is crazy. They're all like the top, the cream of the crop here. No one wants to play anyone. So yeah, I mean, do the seeds really mean anything other than getting to decide if you start on defense or start with the ball? Like,
I think you hit it perfectly. I think that's a big thing because you score kept Div 1 games, Eggs.
Yeah.
And having the ball to start off the second half is huge, but the timeouts, right? Teams always trying to conserve the time in the first half to get that last reps in the 5 plays. So you have the ball at the end of half and then go into the second half where you could put up 12 points. So it's big because those top 2 spots can control the narrative of how your playoff matchup will be going towards a semifinal matchup. And then, of course, in the finals, whoever might be those 2 teams on May 28th.
Yeah. I mean, they can all. It's a competition where they can all beat each other and cannibalize each other. So yeah, it's gonna come down to clock management and whoever has kind of the last possession of the ball.
So we look at Division 2 now, Iggs, and what we have lined up. And of course, there's so many moving parts in Division 2 with who could play who, and we don't know yet what the overall finish will look like. But if you look at the current standings right now, Urgels Medic is 5-2 as the number 2 seed. Number 3 is B-Ball is at 5-3. KGP at 4-1-1. All Oaks at 4-2-1. NR at 4-4, and Party Crashers at 4-4. So I ask you, Iggy, as the number 2 seed right now for Urgels Medic at 5-2, are they safe as number 2 seed, or do you see them moving up to 1, or maybe even drop back into the pack of teams that we have in Div 2?
Well, they have 3 more games left. Look, I don't see them moving up over Terror Squad. I think Terror Squad's, and they haven't all but wrapped it, but they've all but wrapped up the number 1 seed. I see them more falling into the pack. Look, they're not gonna fall out of a playoff spot. They've maybe not. Have they officially clinched 3? If
they have not clinched, they're in a very strong position to be in the playoffs.
Yeah. No, so I see them falling into that KGP B-baller rank. More so the KGP than B-ballers. But yeah, now you know what? Now that I'm actually looking at it more closely, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll stay at the number 2 spot.
The fact that there's so many teams with different games played really makes these like standings get skewed, right? Like I look at a team even like Outlaws that are currently out of the playoffs. They have 4 games left. I mean, they could theoretically finish as high as 2nd or 3rd. You know, that's nuts.
Yeah, it really is, and that's why. Like, look how close 2 through 7 is, guys. Right? It's all more or less a game and a half separation. So you look at B-Ball is at 5-3. They've really impressed me this year. I've kept a bunch of their games this year, and they've come up with some big wins, including the one against KGP on the weekend last Sunday. I think they're safe as a 3 seed, and that's a team that I wouldn't want to face because they have this unique chemistry on both sides of the football here that they don't rely on JD Chevalier to be the go-to guy for them. And they can beat you in different shapes and forms on the football field. And I think with that quarterback play that they have going on moving forward, they're an intriguing team. And I think they're safe at least as a 3 seed. And it wouldn't surprise me. Maybe they jump up to a 2 seed and end up being a team that is a higher ranked team going towards the playoffs.
Yeah, so I've seen the offensive side of what you're talking about. What have you seen though on the defensive side that makes you think that on both sides of the ball that they're tough out?
Well, I think, look, they have a good melange, Iggs, with their pass rushing ability. And look, you look at Branko, their pass rusher, he had a monster game against Phil Cutler last week. And he neutralized them. And he pretty much contained them in the pocket and didn't give them the freedom, the liberty that he is as a central character for that KGP offense to go to his second, third looks. And once the ball is let go, it felt like it was rushed. So Branko's a guy that I'm looking forward to watching the playoffs here. And the thing is, it's such a team effort when it comes to their overall ability to pilfer footballs in the air. You look at their team right now, I think they have 6 or 7 or 8 different guys who have an INT or more on that roster. So it isn't where, not to use the NFL as an example, but where you throw away from one guy, right? Like, because you have Jalen Ramsey there, you go away from him. It's hard because these guys have a nose to make it a big play. So I think B-Ballers is a team that's safe at number 3, and they could move up, I think, to being at least a 2 seed if things fall their way.
Yeah, it's just Medzik already have the one loss left. Well, no, they don't really. The games played really screw up with how to analyze the standings here. But I think you're right on in terms of the B-Ballers, Rusher and Brenko. If he can, for example, especially like you gave a great example, Mo. If he can limit KGP's Phil Cutler running around in the backfield and exactly as you said, eliminating the second and third reads, that's huge because that's if Cutler doesn't hit his first option, he's always finding his second or third option in either Dylan Garber or Jonathan Garfinkel. So so like that I think you nailed it on the head. If that's what they have defensively, they have something really strong in B-Ballers.
All right, so we look at the 4 and 5 seeds, KGP and All Hooks, right? KGP at 4-1-1, and we talk about the imbalance of the schedule right now with some teams playing 8 games, 7 games. Well, KGP at 4-1-1 they have 4 more games left. So in theory, if they were to win out, they could be your 2 seed, if not maybe your 1 seed. Are they safe as where they are as a 4, or do you think they can go higher than where they currently stand?
No, I'm taking a look at their schedule, and I'm seeing them stay where they are. Look, they've got Skills, Terror Squad, so Division 1 team in there, and the number 1 seed in Division 2 right now. And their other 2 games are against Outlaws. Yeah, they're 1-5, 1-6 right now. But that's not an easy matchup. It's not a gimme. And then they finish it off with the Apocalypse. So what, a 2-2 record? So leaving them with a 6-3-1. I think that's good enough to stay put in the 4th seed.
Yeah, and that could be a potential matchup with the Terror Squad, right? If they do advance to the second round in the playoffs here. All Hooks at 4-2-1 as a 5. I'm not buying them. I think they're not safe at that number 5 spot. I think they're going to fall. And look, that's no discredit to them as a team, but their roster, look at their games they have left. They have the All-Stars coming up, Urjas Medic, All-Stars, and #NR. I can only see 1 win, and that might be against NR at the end of the year, and that's not even a guarantee. So they might be a team that could end up being 4-5-1 and being probably your 6th or 7th seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, so All-Stars, that's a loss. The NR game is where they can get the win. I'll take the position where they can make a good run for Urgence Medzic's money. I believe they played in Tier 1 in the Fall Cup in 2021. Yeah. And I think, if I recall, they kept some of those games fairly close. So I could see them pulling out a victory there. So I see them going 2-1, which it doesn't leave much room to move up in the standings per se. But 2-1 leaves them at 6-2-2, or 6-3-1. Sorry, same record I think KGP has. So, right. So I think they're not going to move up, not going to move down. I see them the same thing as KGP. So it sounds like I'm saying that Division 2 is pretty much going to stay as we see it.
Sure. So in that case, we look at we'll group these teams together. NR and Party Crashers both 4-4. Again, they can move up, right? But they can't move up no higher than perhaps be the 2 seed or who knows what. But the point is, for these 2 teams here, are they safe in their current standings, or do you think they might be in a situation that they might become the 8th seed than being the 6th or 7th seeds in the playoffs?
Yeah, so look, taking it more further than just the 7 and 8 seed, I think it's Outlaws, man. It's like Eagle said, those 4 games in hand that they still have. I see them taking over one of the current playoff positions. And if I had to put a bet on whether it's NR or Party Crashers or Apocalypse, that extra loss that the Apocalypse have over the other two. I see Outlaws jumping them. So
Right.
so Outlaws jumping the Apocalypse, and then NR and Party Crashers kind of staying put.
All right. When we look at Flagmore Sac right now, Iggs, at 6-2 in Division One, it feels like they're going to be destined to be a top 2 seed. But in your mind right now, look, they lost to All Stars way back in week 1, and they got skunked by Gryffindor not too long ago here. So in your mind right now, who is the best matchup for them if and when they do play in the playoffs in a couple weeks from now?
I mean, look, by normal convention, you say it's the lowest seed, but the lowest seed is Gryffindor, and I like the way you put it. They got skunked by them. They literally got their asses handed to them, and that's no easy feat to do against Flagmont Sac. So,
well, to add to that too, I mean, they have a 2-week break, and their game against Got Skills is outside. It's the first one that's going to be outside. So that's time off plus conditions that you're not experiencing. That could be a weird game.
It could be a weird game. Yeah. It could be a weird game, and already we're hearing from those who have played outdoors that it's just a different vibe. And Iggy, playing outdoor is not the easiest thing because you have to factor in the wind elements, right? And you got to factor in the sight lines, and all the lighting issues that come up here because you're not used to being in an outdoor environment. So that could be the equalizer. Exactly.
It's still not warm, yeah.
Exactly, right? So there's that equalizer, in fact, that could happen in terms of what will be the situation moving forward here. So I just think now, like, when you think about Flagmore Sac and where they're at, I mean, they can put up points. We know that, guys, right? But now at this juncture of the year, could they make a stop on defense? Because if Gryffindor can score as they did, do you trust them to beat the Braves? Do you trust them to beat the All-Stars? I'm not too sure if you can at this point of the year.
Well, they're the only team in Division 1 to have let up over 300 points. So the trend would say no. They haven't been proven to be able to stop these other juggernauts on offense. So honestly, if the question is, do they have a favorable matchup? The answer is no. The answer is just quite simply no.
All right, speaking of favorable matchups, your last one before we Div 3. Outlaws. All right, so we look at the Outlaws right now, Iggs, at 1-5, and as Eagle made the point before with the imbalance of games left for some teams here, they got 4 games left on their schedule. So they can run the table and make it. And their schedule that they have left is Incredibles, which is a team they're fighting for a playoff spot, KGP, B-Ballers, and Urgence Medic. Do you give them any hope that they can find the Easter egg chocolates and get themselves into the playoffs?
Ooh, nice little Easter reference there. Look, the 2 games that are going to be the deciding factor here are the KGP game and the Urgence Medic. We know the Urgence Medic, they have now starting a bubbling rivalry right now. Again, starting from that last year's Fall Cup. Where there was that game with the playoff game, right, where they had to replay the game because of an IR incident. This is Eagle. These were the 2 teams that were involved, right? So
I believe so. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
So they played. So they played. So and I think that would have been like the 3rd or 4th game that they played in that season. So I think it's those 2 games. And my God, if it comes down to the last game of the season. And Urgence Medic, beat them out to make the Tier 1 final in the Fall Cup last year. They're going to want their revenge at the final game of the season.
Yeah, and guys, remember here for Outlaws, I know they're currently sitting at 2 points, right? So 4 games left. They have to catch Apocalypse, who have 6 points. So they need to win 2 of these 4 games to tie Apocalypse. But Apocalypse has the head-to-head, so they actually theoretically need 3 and hope Apocalypse loses to Terra Squad and KGP in the next couple games that they have left. So it's a challenge for sure.
That what? Yeah.
This is a mountain. This is a tough mountain for them to climb right now. I mean, they're in red ink right now, and I don't know how they can get back into black ink and try to get back into this whole playoff window because even though they got 4 games left, these are not easy games at all for them.
No, they're not gimmies. No, not at all.
No, definitely not, though. Looking at Div 3 now, as we shift over to the next division here in the FPF World Awards with Iggy Magnates and Mo Khan along with Eagle. And we are remote for those who are watching, trying to figure out where's Peasy. Well, Peasy told us to go home and do it from remote. So that's what we're doing today. So thanks, Peasy.
And he didn't show up.
And he didn't show up.
He just said, you just replace me, Iggy, and stay home.
Stay home and don't come out. Exactly. So Eagle literally is by himself in the nest. He's got an empty nest right now in the armpits of the ship.
Yeah, but you're missing out on the steamies and puts in. So
that's true.
I thought you were eating something. I thought it was candy.
I'd love to check out your sodium count for this week with you going to Austin, Texas, and what did you consume during your time in the Lone Star State of Texas?
Some steak quesadillas, some steak tacos, a lot of like mixed beans. I had some Texas barbecue, brisket, ribs, sausage, some coleslaw, some corn on the cob.
Eagle, the number one barbecue item for you is.
I personally like a good brisket, but it has to be kind of fatty. I don't like the lean ones. Yeah. I didn't get a chance to go to Franklin's, though. They closed at like 3 p.m. when they ran out, so we had to go to the Ironworks one instead. It's fine. It was good.
Okay. Yeah.
Fair enough, then. All right, Div 3. Iggs, we have a fascinating thing unfolding in Conference B. The number of teams at 6-2 is at 5. We got Expendables.
This is insane. What the hell? Okay, go.
Funny enough here, Iggs, I don't want to go off track here, but I sent an idea to Eagle and to Rob for a playoff proposal, right? Because sometimes, it is, right? We when we blindly put teams in one side of the conference, it might be more of a power conference than the other side. Well, here's our power conference right here. We got 5 teams at 6-2, Expendables, JYD, ECW, Silent Ticklers, and Thor's Hammer. Out of these 5, Iggs, who was the best team?
Holy crap. I'm gonna pick Junkyard Dogs or Thor's Hammer. Man, that's a really tough question. It could even be ECW. My God. I'll go with JYD on this one. Fuck, man. You know what? Give me Thor's Hammer. They've put up the most points for 324. No other team has put up 300. They have. I don't care too much about plus minus because sometimes you just have a really bad week or a really good week, and that kind of skews that. Give me Thor's Hammer. Give me the added weapons that they now have on offense. I think it was only recently, a couple weeks back, that they added Dawson Pierre to the lineup. So give me Thor's Hammer.
Okay, so Expendables right now are the one. I'm not buying into them. Because I know they're playing off the run that with no Carmen Palicio, who's out for the year with a lower body injury.
Yeah, it's
going to run out because it's going to catch up to them with Gino DeFazio as their quarterback. So I'm not buying into them as being the best team. You look at Thor's Hammer, that's an intriguing prospect. I do like their team. I like how they're built up on both sides of the football. Junkyard Dogs kind of disappointed me a few weeks ago on an awful loss that they had. And I'm just going to double check who they had lost to. It was like 2 weeks ago, I think they had lost in Lachine. And they had lost to Past Our Prime. So for me, that was a bad loss because you win that game, Iggs, right? You're now 7-1, and you're in control of the narrative of your division. You lost to a POP team that in all likelihood, and now officially they won't make the playoffs officially now, but at that time, we're not going to make the playoffs. So if I have to look at it, Thor's Hammer is a team to watch out for, but I'm really intrigued by ECW and what they can do. They got this wild card to them, this smoking gun panache that this team, the way that they're built, and Seal Levine's a guy, and Eagle, you know him very well, as you do, Iggs. Jeremy White's been the quarterback for them, but in terms of what Jeremy White can do as a quarterback, I beg your pardon, he has grown in that position. He's matured in that position. And this has been his best year by far, I think, as an efficient quarterback. And if that can carry over as their recipe, their menu to success, then I think they're the team that can definitely really raise some eyebrows and be your number one seed in the playoffs because their final 2 games that they have left, they're playing lightweight and Bearskins. Gentlemen,
Dub
those,
Yeah.
those are wins.
Yeah.
And I think that will be their passport to being on why they will be your number 1 seed on the Conference B side of things, your eggs.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But I think thank you for agreeing with me about Thor's hammer. But if you had to pick one, come on, Mo.
Easy
You're
W.
telling me to pick one. Okay, it's
I'm
easy
thinking easy
W.
W.
For you.
That's what I'm going to go roll with because and we talk about chemistry, and this is a team, and we talk about friends being together for a long time. This is the epitome of friendships thriving in this type of environment, right? Because usually when you get to higher levels, it's more or less you're friends, but you're not like boys. These guys are homies, and they've grown together throughout the ranks of FPF, and now here they are with where they're positioned. But with Thor's hammer, look, they Jeff Rosenblatt's a quarterback that I truly believe he's improved, and he could be your quarterback of the year in Division III. I love their pieces that they have on offense here. Anthony Breezeball is a guy that's been phenomenally mentioned. Dawson Pierre, that could be the difference maker. Those two big hitters could be the difference maker on why they could be headaches and literally be the hammer to the Thor's hand on how they can win these playoff games moving forward.
Yeah, and then I mean we've talked about this before, especially Pease has mentioned this, but when you go out and add Ben McMahon and James Drysdale and Anthony Drysdale at the low cap hits that they come with, that's where you get the chance to be able to add. And you know what? He himself, Dawson Pierre himself, has a really sweet cap hit. I still think it's at 60 or something, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, that'll change soon enough, right, Eagle?
I was gonna say it sounds like half the job now being a captain is trying to figure out how to manage your cap off of like rookie contract players. You don't want to have people at a too high of a value at this point.
But that's the fascination of a cap, though, right? Iggy, as a captain, Eagle, as a captain. That can I unearth that diamond in a mine shaft that's going to be light on my cap hit but be dominant on the football field?
FPF Moneyball at its finest.
It really is, right? And Jeff Rosenblatt has maneuvered it to near perfection to get Dawson Pierre and Anthony Breezeball on the same team because, guys, we all know in all likelihood Dawson Pierre is going to be a very high cap hit, maybe not this year. But if he continues on with the seasons played moving forward, he will be a higher cap hit in the next year or two.
Yeah, he'll be an 80 plus offensive and even defensive. Come on. Do you remember that game? The back pick sixes? That was Dawson Pierre. That was Dawson Pierre doing 3 of those, returning 3 of those back to the house. So yeah, it's going to be an 80 plus defensive rating too.
So what about Killer Bees at 5-3? What about Killer Bees right now? Are they a team that we can say they're in that discussion, or are they on the outside looking in? Because Dan Lazare said, look, this is a team to watch out for that could be a really fascinating team moving towards the playoffs.
Yeah, I think, just because they don't have that 6-2 record, they're 1 win from it, 1 win and 1 loss like away. So, I think they're definitely part of that conversation. It's just because they don't have the 6-2 record that they didn't get lumped into our script. But yeah, they as a 6 seed, that's a dangerous number 6 seed, kind of last man in on the playoffs. I don't want to be right now, if the playoffs started today, Expendables as the number 1 seed. You're not the real number 1 seed when you're playing Killer Bees at number 6. It would be more likely.
Wouldn't. It would be 3, 6, 4, 5. So ECW would play them, and then
okay.
The 16 doesn't work, Iggy. This is classic NFL format.
Yeah. Okay. True. Fair enough. It's still. I'd still probably take ECW in it, but it's going to be a one possession game, so it would definitely Killer Bees have something to say about all of our discussion here.
I wanted to just add something here. Yeah. I've noticed the divisional record seems to not be calculating properly on these tables, so that's something I'm going to get. Exactly. I'm going to get our website team to look at because, for example, Junkyard Dogs, 3 of their wins have come against Lightweight, Bearskins, and Touch It Catch It, yet their divisional record is 6-2. So clearly there's something wrong there.
Well, I told you this about Division 4. It's the same thing.
I thought I noticed it a couple weeks ago, but now I've proven it. So yeah, we're gonna fix it.
Yeah.
By the way, Eagle, when I sent you that idea for the playoff format, it would have been perfect for this division right here.
Did you change rooms, Mo?
If only
I did.
If only you had given it to us before we decided the playoff format. And arguably, we still haven't decided the playoff format. We just have the games booked. So that's the only problem.
So how would we do it then, Eagle? Let's go with it, man. Come on.
Yeah, that's a scheduling issue. Talk to Rob.
I'll talk to Rob afterwards about that one.
So quick question here. Fun question. You mentioned it before. Is ECW the best group of friends as a team that there ever has been in FPF?
I don't know if they're a gang of criminals here. I don't know what you're trying to imply.
Criminals. I didn't say
you said gang, right? So
I mean, yeah, gang of friends.
There's also
the squad.
How about team? Best team.
Fine. Are they the best team that are a group of comprised of all group of friends? I think they might be. I mean, I have a limited sample size in FPF of just 5 years now. I don't go back the 20. How old's FPF now? Did it hit the 20 year mark?
2005. So 17 years.
So 17 years. So I don't have the accolades and the pedigree to go back that far. But I'd say in the 5 years that I've been in FPF, I think that's the best full roster of friends as a team that are still a team. They're probably the best, are they not? Yeah.
Well, speaking of friends, what has gone wrong with Bearskins? We talk about friends, right? So great segue to the Bearskins. At 2-5, Iggs, I'm surprised by their season. I'm quite disappointed on how it's unfolded, and they got ripped apart by Touch It Catch It a couple weeks ago. And now here they are at 2-5, hanging by a thread for the 6th seed with lightweight up their backside. What has gone wrong with this team?
Well, look, I don't think, before we dive into Bearskins, I don't think they have to be worried about lightweight and Oompa Loompas. Because we well documented on this series that they're miscast from Division 3, and lightweight's only win came against Oompa Loompa. So look, they're going to make the playoffs. The Bearskins are. You saw them early on, Mo. A couple games that you score kept with them, and you actually, I remember you telling me, you're like, oh, Neil Ettinson's he's looking the part so far, but this is back in week 1 and week 2.
Overreaction Monday.
Yeah, and it was a Wednesday, but yeah, in a bear against Le Malud, they took it. I'm looking at the score, 31-14. Like they were hitting on all cylinders, and then at the beginning of the season, we didn't know how much Simon Dagenet had regressed, but they seemingly took care of lightweight 25-6 with no problem. So it looked like, yeah, this team was pumping out their chest, but those are the first 2 wins of the season. They started 2-0, and they've lost 5 in a row. Do you think it's the quarterback play, or 22 TDs to 9 picks is not a great TD to interception?
No, not in Division 3. No, Division 3, right?
Not in Division 6.
Well, not everyone has that chance. But when we talk about the PZ theory of mathematics,
yeah,
how many touchdowns do you need to win in the football game in the FPF world?
The 5 TDs, right?
Right. So
that should have been, yeah, he's at 22. He should have been at 35 at this point. So he's down 13.
Yeah, he's averaging about 3.1, 3.2 per game, which is not enough. And if they do qualify for the playoffs, which I think they're in a strong position, Eggs,
yeah,
I don't know if they have firepower to work with, right? They have some arsenals they have some weapons within their arsenal that they can play with.
Yeah,
but it's bamboozling how it's been very vanilla in how they cannot produce points. And if they go up against a better team in their division side, and here's the saving grace for them, Iggs, is that they're not in Conference B, where it is a death row of teams that they would have to go through. So they can put together a seam of wins, and we could be talking about them in the finals if things fall their way. Just food for thought.
I don't even like that consideration going into the playoffs. They have Blessed. They're probably going to lose. They're 8-0. They have Silent Ticklers, one of the 6-2. Or they? No, they're not one of the 6-2 teams we mentioned, but Easy W is. So they might go, stumbling into the playoffs on an 8-game losing streak. I don't like the odds of them suddenly turning the proverbial switch.
Well,
So here's a potential situation. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's possible. Because they are in Conference A East, and so far that division is relatively weak in terms of overall wins, there's a possibility that if Bearskins wins a game, they could, in theory, either contest Malud for the top seed, and if they were to do that, they have the tiebreak on them, right, from that Week 2 game. Right. Or they could potentially get into a 3-way tiebreak if LGC also wins a game, which LGC has Lightweight and Oompa Loompas on their schedule, so they're getting at least one, likely 2 of those. Malud have Sheesh and Junkyard Dogs on their schedule, so they're probably not getting either of those. So if Bearskins gets that 1 win and LGC manages to beat, let's say, Oompa Loompas, but potentially loses to Lightweight, that's a 3-way tie. If Malud only wins one of their games, then Bearskins gets in with 1 win if LGC drops both their games. So, yeah, who knows what the combinations are going to be to actually make this work at the end here.
And that's right. And then to Mo's point, that's one less playoff game that you have to, succumb to and potentially get eliminated in if you're the winner of your division there.
Thank God for Malud, right? They had the saving grace being the division leader right now in the 2 seed. But you know what, guys, regardless of division, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever it is, 5A, 5B, 6, or 6B, if you are a team that might face Malud in the second round, I'm thanking the FPF gods because that is an easier task than going against Bless in round 2.
Yeah. So let's see who wins the Hunger Games there.
Yeah, of course. Let's flip over to Division 4A and B, and there's a lot to unpack here, Iggs, with what happened in 4A and B this past week. We had the big heavyweight fight between Brotherhood and KHP Raw, which Brotherhood came out on top rather easily, in the fact that they, even though they were a bit undermanned, and of course with moving parts on the roster with guys being banged up, and then KHP Raw, given how they had momentum coming in here, they lose rather easily, 48-21. So this wasn't even close on the football field. So
wait. I want to talk about this though, because this game, in my opinion, is actually closer than it looks on this scoreboard. Because look at that touchdown stats. Look at that stats for Kwesi. 5 of 11, 88 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yeah. He gets 1 on the ground with 72 yards. So obviously running is a big deal. But then you have 3 pick sixes in this game. So even though the score is 48, this is more of a 24, 21 point game in theory.
In theory, yes. But we don't live in theory though, Eagle, right? We live in reality.
Remember a few weeks ago I was saying I didn't have faith in Kwesi Gordon-Mall. I still don't have faith in Kwesi Gordon-Mall, even with the stat line here.
That brings up the question though, right? What do we take away from this game? Is Brotherhood the best team in 4A, or do you still have question marks about them going towards the final running games that we have left?
I see it as Garber had a really bad game against this defense. That's what I take from this.
Yeah, but it's the same defense he's gonna face in down if he meets them in the playoffs. He still is facing off against Kwesi Gordon-Mall. He's still gonna jump balls. He's still gonna get 3 picks. Now, the thing you're saying is the 3 pick sixes. Look, there was 4 picks thrown. Let's say the 4 picks stand in the next game. Yeah, hi. This guy wants to say hello. He wants to say something about the Brotherhood. Look, they're still going to get 4 picks. Look, they're still going to get 4 picks. The thing is, are they going to take it to the house? And if they don't, can Kwesi lead those drives on offense and lead them to touchdowns? Eagle, it sounds like you're saying that he can, you don't have the faith in him to do that.
I don't think he can. I really don't think he can.
So in defense of Kwesi, He was out for about a week and a half, out of commission with his health. So coming into this game, he wasn't fully healthy, and perhaps that might factor into why his numbers were not as strong that maybe we thought
But Mo,
it should be.
These numbers are consistent with all his other numbers. They've never been good. It's make sure you get a lot of yards on the ground, and then just try and check it down every other play and see if maybe you can have a blown coverage on another play. This stat line looked exactly like that all over again.
So when we look at it now, guys, okay, we see from that perspective. What about for KGP Raw? Because this team was coasting along here, and we all thought, hey, this could be your representative at the 4A finals.
Yep.
And now they may have opened the door for Blackouts or Top Season to maybe jump them for that number one spot on that side of the playoff bracket.
I mean, I think so. Look. Okay, so there's two questions there. Really, what you're asking. One is can they lose out on the number one spot, and the other question is can Blackouts or Top Season beat them in the playoffs? And I think the second question is more true than the first. I'm not saying they've completely wrapped up the number one seed. It's still possible that they lose it, but they're more favorites to stay in the number one seed. What's more likely to happen is that these Blackouts and athletic teams in Blackouts and Top Season, like by athletic because KGP Raw is athletic, but I mean significantly more athletic than them. I think Blackouts or Top Season do have a very good chance at eliminating KGP Raw from playoff contention.
So Top Season does play KGP Raw last game of the year, and that's big. That's big because Blackouts beat Top Season 45-18. Eags, if you're able to formulate this quickly here, if it ends up being a three-way tie for 1, 2, and 3, with the final records perhaps being 8-2 for both for all three teams, Top Season, Blackouts, and KGP Raw. Who gets the 1, 2, and 3 seeds at that point, if you can figure that out?
So a couple things to keep in mind here. The winner of Conference A West will automatically grab one of the seeds, so KGP Raw would be that team. So then it's just a matter of between Blackouts and Top Season, which one goes ahead first. If I'm going to check this quickly here, let me just peek. Let me check.
Yeah, well, Blackouts... Yeah, Blackouts beat Top Season, so they have
Blackouts have head-to-head on Top Season then, which means that they would go ahead in any tying scenarios there. Yeah. So that's already that. And then between Blackouts and KGP Raw, let me just peek. They played in Week 5, and KGP Raw won that one 39-25. So KGP would come out first seed in that scenario.
If it was a 8-2 records.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd have to determine the winner of East, the winner of West. West would be KGP Raw. East would be Blackouts. And then because they have head-to-head as well, KGP would take one.
Okay, so I asked this question now, gentlemen, in the final tripod of questions for this game here. Did Dylan Garber lose a grip on the Quarterback of the Year award with his performance on Saturday last weekend?
Yeah, so let's take a look.
Because that's pretty bad numbers at this juncture of the year. Yeah,
so I mean that question has a sort of built-in question in it as well, and it's was he even?
Ryan Garber, I beg your pardon. I'm gonna say Ryan Garber. I beg your pardon.
Yeah. Oh yes, Ryan Garber.
Was he the clear favorite though, Mo?
Exactly. That was he even the favorite going in?
So let's look at it this way for Ryan Garber, right? So he had 3 touchdowns, 4 INTs, correct?
Yeah.
So let's take away the 4 INTs. Let's say he threw 3 TDs, no INTs. So he would be without the 4 INTs at 38 TDs, 3 INTs, and at a clip of 73% passing. Right? He may not have the yards, but he would have the touchdowns. The touchdown to INT ratio is pretty good. The passing completion is very strong.
Yep.
And he would be in that conversation, right? But
Yeah. For sure, he's definitely in the. Let's not mistaken. He's definitely in the conversation. I just
Yeah.
don't know if he was the front runner, so to speak, going into the game against Brotherhood. Look, obviously the stats don't help. But look, I see. I look a quick look at the numbers, and I already see that McGrath and Sinagra, for my taking, would be ahead of him in the game, just
But
because of the.
but they both have high INT numbers, though, right? Ryan Garber doesn't have, until last Saturday, didn't have a high INT number. I find it to be a very important number, because if you are throwing INTs, those are going for points, supposedly, for the opposing team when they get the ball back.
Couple of things to also bring into this conversation here. Adam Sinagra has 52 yards rushing for 1 TD. Garber has 113 yards rushing for 1 TD, which you have to throw into their total numbers if we're looking at this breakdown. McGrath basically has none. Lerner has 69 yards, nice, but no touchdowns either. So if you're looking at just from efficiency perspective, he's definitely there. But of everyone, he's on the lower end of the numbers still, except in the INT
he's got
range.
He's got the most completions, and
who cares?
But at the end of the day, right? It's a stat driven thing, right?
I mean, So what you're, and by the way, Justin Lerner apparently 69, but doesn't score. Haha. But look, what you're referring to, Mo. 117 QBR overall, right?
That's massive.
The stat that is the best. Yeah, that's the best in the division right now. It's just a shade over Gabe Wiseman's 116.9. But
so right now, for the quarterback of the year, if you had to go 1, 2, 3, Eagle and Iggy, Ryan Garber, Adam Sinagra, Sean McGrath, who are your 1, 2, and 3 going to the final 2 weeks of the year?
I'll go first here. So I'll go right now, as is today. Adam Sinagra 1, Ryan Garber 2, Sean McGrath 3. The 12 picks are kind of high for McGrath.
So from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, is there a gap, or is it close with 1 and 2?
It's closer the 1 and 2. Than it is between the 2 and 3. I think those 12 picks are significant enough to be a difference than the 7 that Ryan Garber has thrown. So,
okay, Eagle, you're 1, 2, and 3, please.
You know what I can do? Hold on.
He's gonna take a wand and magically make the 1, 2, and 3 for the top.
No. I'm gonna tell you exactly who I think it is, because I can go pull up fun numbers on this because I'm magical. Hold on.
Are you gonna go to like past quarterback of the year winners?
Oh no! I'm going to the ratings that I've calculated.
but look,
no one has seen yet, by the way, which is awesome. So
that's why it's going to be uncensored information here.
But here's the thing, though, right? Ryan Garber in his last couple of seasons in FPF has been surgical with the ball in his hands.
Agreed.
He doesn't make many mistakes, and as it was last Saturday, he had a bad day, and Brotherhood cashed in on those mistakes for points.
Yeah, I mean, when there aren't too many defenders in Division 4 that are of Kwesi's caliber, you think you have 5 yards separation, for a sideline hook. Oh, Kwesi will make up those 5 yards within split seconds. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Mo.
Yeah.
So it's just that particular matchup is a real bad one for Garber's play style and play calling. Having seen them play quite a few games, I should have analyzed that actually last week when Pease and I spoke about it, but the way Kwesi can make up for lost ground, and he does it on purpose. It's not unintentional lost ground. He's giving you those 5 yards because he knows he can run 6 faster than you think. Yeah,
right. So, you come up to the
my list is Sinagra is 1. You have Garber at 2 and McGrath at 3.
Okay,
Oh,
so
let's
so only
go.
changing parts is Sinagra and McGrath, and Garber is your consistent two right now.
Yes.
No, that was the same list
No, the
as
same list,
as
same list,
mine.
same list.
That was the same
Right.
list as mine.
So look, I will say this. I think Sean McGrath is your number one quarterback right now. Ryan Garber's number two, and then Snagger's number three. And I think if Garber, and look, not to microscope Ryan Garber here, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to throw for a high 250s. He's going to throw for 150, 200. But if he's
Yeah.
able to increase those yards and maybe in the final two games, if he can post up Eagle 400 yards, if not more, I think, and he puts up immense touchdowns, like say another 8 more TDs, I think it's his to lose at that point.
Okay. Okay.
So
I'll give
we'll
you
see
that.
what happens. Plenty of discussion for that one here. Stoics. They take out small giants. Iggy, do you think they are a team that we have underrated this year, and that maybe, just maybe, at this point of the year, they could be the team to watch out for from the playoff run? That they could be the biggest challenger towards Brotherhood going towards May playoffs.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's time we start talking about them a lot more. Like let's take the time here to think about this, because is it just me, or do I get this feeling about Stoics and the Stoic offense and Chris Rive that and I've kind of alluded to this in my articles of Division 4, but I had this feeling that Rive couldn't break that cusp of 30 points, putting up 30 points a game. And you know what? The 30 points are the 5 touchdowns that you need, the golden number, the golden standard for Peas there to win an FBF game. I felt like he wasn't capable of consistently hitting that mark, and he's proven me wrong week after week after week that I mentioned it back now 3 or 4 weeks. He's consistently done it. So look, he's putting up the offensive numbers, and he's doing it against like pretty good teams too. Small Giants, Takeover, I believe, was one of the other games. Now he needs the defense to help step up if they want to be, exactly as you're alluding to, one of the contenders for Division A.
Well, they got blackouts in Brotherhood in their final 2 games. So they are in full control of their playoff destiny here, Eggs, and where they can finish off. Because if they are to win out the final 2 games of their run, that would put them in a firm position to jump Brotherhood for the 1 seed and pretty much have the road go through them to get to the 4A finals in late May.
Oh, and I'll go as far as saying that if they beat Blackouts and Brotherhood, they are the division, like, well, it's obvious because they'll win their Conference B, but it will go through them. They are the Conference B favorites to go through to the final. Like, if they win those 2 games, they are the favorite.
And not only that, though, gentlemen, but it would avoid a potential matchup with Takeover in the second round of the playoffs. If the seeds were advanced as it is, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. And watching Takeover play that it was earlier this week, they're starting to become a better team. I know they had a rough go on Monday, but they are a team that I wouldn't want to face, because it wouldn't be an upset if Takeover took out Stoics or Brotherhood in round 2 of the playoffs.
Yeah, so Eagle, like I'm targeting you here because you've said it in the past on this season of calling the Audible, but you and I know, and Peas and Mo, you know as well, that Takeover's that 8-2 team, that they 9-1, they're atop of the leaderboard, and this year it's a little different. They're top of the leaderboard and then first or second round exit, right?
Yeah.
And now they're playing the silent approach towards the playoffs. Hey, we're the unassuming 4-4 team. So is this the right approach for them? You know, since the 8-2 dominant 9-1 team hasn't worked for them in the past, is this maybe a winning recipe, a solution for them, Eagle?
It's more. Go ahead, Eagle.
Yeah, not necessarily. Keep in mind for the first 2 games of the season versus Nomads and Backyard Bullies, Will Power actually had to come in as quarterback, and then Ian Einheiber, I'll get it right one of these days, came in and actually started running the show at the pivot position. So that's probably playing into not being in the rhythm. Obviously, the time off for everyone. I know there's been some roster inconsistency as well in terms of, who's been there for which games. They've had a bunch of, people on their roster with only 1 game played, so subs have come in to try and help them out. Yeah. Injuries, I think, have played into that as well in terms of not having a consistent roster. So I look at it from 2 different perspectives. Number one, like you mentioned, TakeOver has always been a dominating team until they hit a matchup that they can't compete with. And for some reason, that keeps happening in the playoffs. I think this year, that's happening in the regular season, where there's some games they just don't match up well. And so you're seeing that more, and that combined with the roster inconsistency is definitely hurting their chances. Now, does that mean that's the only problem? No. They're losing very close games. They're winning some very close games as well. And those could easily be coin flips in one direction or the other. So I look at it from that point of view, where without having a core roster that shows up week in, week out, it's hard to get a good feel for this team. And even if we had a good feel for this team, they haven't shaken off that idea of we're going to try and be our strongest regardless of who we're playing, because historically that's never been the case.
Okay, so I'll go with this term. It's a slow burn for them. And Iggs, you and Eagle are both cooking connoisseurs, right?
Yeah.
It's a slow burn for them right now.
Because
you made the point before, right? They would go 8-2, 9-1. It would be that the fire's dripping through the grill on the steak and stuff.
Okay.
This is a slow burn now. This is what you call a smoker for them. It's going to be an all-day thing for them to get to the point where it's going to be perfect taste of food and stuff like that. So I think for TakeOver, they have the pieces there. I mean, Will Power is a really good player. Einheiber is a really good quarterback, I think. Archietto's played very well. He came up with some big plays for them. So they got pieces in place, and also Vincent Benjamin is a guy that I look at that could be a change of force for them. And now,
Mo, this is the problem though. Those names have always been on the TakeOver roster. They've always been excellent. So there's no excuse for not having success in past seasons that you can be like, oh well, it was just a bad year. No, those were the years. This is the bad year, right?
But this is less expectations on them, right? No one's talking about
that's
them, right?
that's what I'm. That's
maybe
maybe
that's
where
what's a slow burn for them. And I just think that plays into their strengths that we're not out there saying this is the team that's going to be tough to beat, and they get bounced after 1 round, right? They're one and done. And it feels like, gentlemen, that is not the case this year than what it was, say, 2 years ago before COVID had hit and kind of put things upside down for all of us in the world here.
Okay, so here's a 1-minute question here to wrap up for TakeOver. So clearly their previous experience and their core, it hasn't led to a championship run, right? Eagle, Will Power played a couple of games at quarterback. I'm not suggesting to replace Ian Einheiber. Let me be clear. Why wouldn't they, or what do you guys think about them involving Will Power more in the passing game, having a couple of double quarterback plays in their playbook?
Do you trust Will Power as a quarterback?
You know what? For me, it's not about trusting Will Power as a QB. It's about losing one of your best receivers downfield on plays, right? That's the bigger problem there. Because if you don't have Will Power as a target, is he throwing to? Is it Ian who's going to be downfield? I prefer the other way around. It's just 9 times out of 10.
Ryan, Vincent Benjamin, Arciero, Gabriel Moreau-Paquette. These guys don't have Julian Wilson. These guys don't have a problem catching a football and making plays.
Fine, but where do you put Ian on the field then?
But no. He's the quarterback. There'll be a second quarterback dropping back.
That's my point, though. Then there's
Eagles'
four other
points, though,
people. You've lost one of your core
exactly.
receivers.
You're weakening your
to.
receiving core of options.
Okay, but you're making it sound like no one's rushing Will Power. Okay, if no one's rushing Will Power after that, then take off and gain 15 yards.
To Eagles' points, though, it's a regression that you're weakening your receiving core. But and it goes to my point: do you trust Will Power for that one play?
Yeah,
that you're going to look at him as a quarterback that he can convert for a big play or for a touchdown. Do you trust him in that environment?
I do, and I just think shaking up what the defense sees like ever. Because when do you expect takeover to send in a double QB play? Never. So I say why not shake it up, try something new. And I do trust him for that one play. You guys don't. That's okay.
4B, we dive into 4B now. And there's some fascinating playoff races that we have in 4B, especially in Conference B. So, Iggy, 2 in, 2 out. So 2 teams in, 2 teams out.
Okay.
Right now, Finessers and Voodoo are both holding playoff spots. Voodoo coming off a terrible loss to Mofos yesterday, which I score capped.
Ooh.
And hovering and lurking in the swamplands of teams trying to get into the playoff run, Ballers and our very own Hot Sauce Sports. So 2 in, 2 out. Yeah. Who's in and who's out?
To add to that, there's no way for any of these teams to catch the 1 seed. So it purely is scrape by at the bottom.
That is correct. This is what you call the raw sewage of Conference B trying to get into the playoff run.
Okay, good. I'm glad you used the word raw because I'm gonna go raw team analysis. I'll look up the teams who they're facing after, but just from raw perspective, Finessers have been on a heater. We started calling the audible early on in the season, saying how disappointing they are, and they lost 39-0 to Honey Martin. They have so much high expectations for them, but they've gone like 2-1-2 in their last 6 games or 5 games.
They have Beer Belly Brigade and Hot Sauce Sports on their schedule.
Yeah, that's like the real yin and yang, right? Of the top end and the bottom end of the division.
So look, they're gonna lose to Beer Belly, but that Hot Sauce Sports game, that'll determine which one of those 2 teams make the playoffs. Oh man!
So today, right now, 2 in, 2 out. Who are your 2 that are in, and who?
So again, raw the schedule. I would have said Finessers and Hot Sauce Sports, but that's clearly not going to be the case. So now that I know they play each other, let's go Hot Sauce Sports beats out Finessers. They'll make it. And Voodoo's on a real bad
Hot Sauce Sports
streak.
has Finks and Finessers on their schedule.
Yeah,
they can run it.
So give me Hot Sauce Sports to make it. And then Voodoo's just been on a bad losing streak right now. I don't particularly like Ballers that much more. But if it's between the 2, I'll go Ballers and Hot Sauce Sports. Those are my 2.
So this is where I'm going to throw you a curveball, Iggy, because Voodoo have Ballers and Golden Eagles left on their schedule.
Oh, God damn it. Okay, look.
And Ballers have, as you said, Voodoo, of course, and they have Beer Belly Brigade to end off the year.
So you see how my raw analysis was Finessers and Hot Sauce Sports. Now that I know the schedules, it's Hot Sauce Sports and Voodoo. I don't see Voodoo beating or losing to a team like Ballers. The score will be close. Ballers will match them athletically, but the FPF experience of Frank K. Man, I always remember one name out of a team and then not the others. But
they have a problem though. They have a major problem though because Frankie did not play on Wednesday. I don't know what the reasoning is because it was Jeremy Guimard who played quarterback for them, and he was awful. Like he soiled Field 3 with his performance. And
did you have to clean up?
Yeah, thankfully I didn't clean it up. But
I was going to say, is that a scorekeeper responsibility or?
No, it's not a scorekeeper responsibility. Let's put it that way. It's definitely not my responsibility. But if Frank Hay, and maybe it was a one-off and he'll be available, but if Guimard is the quarterback for that team, they're not going anywhere. Like they're done. They're finished.
Yeah. It's one TD, 6 picks thrown.
It was bad. Like mofos were like they felt bad for them. They weren't even trying, mofos, and they still felt bad for these guys.
Oh man,
you know, and so my point is that like I don't think Voodoo will get in. I think Hot Sauce Sports and Ballers will get in. I think Finessers have been too unpredictable for my liking. And I know PC downplays Hot Sauce Sports and how bad it's been. And I know they had a bad loss on Sunday. But the stars are aligned for them to get themselves into the playoffs, given how Voodoo has spiraled going the wrong direction. And Finessers are not trustworthy at this point in the year.
Wouldn't it be funny if Ballers and Voodoo tied, Hot Sauce Sports and Finessers make it in? So not two teams that none of us picked.
Well, here's a question for Eagle, right? Finessers have 2 ties already. Could that be the bane of their existence of trying to get into the playoffs, or that they'll be out by the time it's all said and done?
Well, ultimately, it does come down to points, right, as the main first tie break. So in that sense, if we're anticipating them to go potentially 1-1, if they do get the edge on Hot Sauce Sports, that puts them at 8, in which case then this conversation is moot, right? They would grab that spot, and there's not to say there's not catching them, but definitely Hot Sauce Sports can only go as high as 6 points. Which means that Voodoo is, if they get their 2 wins, would actually grab the last spot, right? Because that would how math would work and everything. So the only way it would work out is if Finessers lose both their games to sit at the 6th spot, in which case then there's like a larger tie, and then they would get shot down because of the ties to give them the extra 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
Or multiple teams end up at 8 points. And when I say multiple, I mean Arush, Finessers, and then the other 2 teams in some combination to, again, force them to have to end up in the 7th seed because of the tie break. So that's the only kind of 2 scenarios I see the tie mattering from that perspective. Otherwise, they're going to end up somewhere in 3 to 6. That's really what it's going to come down to.
Okay, yes or no, guys, before we get to the next question here. Will 3 wins be enough for these teams to qualify for the playoffs?
Well, 3 wins. Well, for Finessers, yes, because of their 2 ties.
Yeah.
And then for Hot Sauce,
go with no.
So you think 4? So 3 won't be enough. That 4 obviously will be enough to get in, but that means.
Yeah, so 3, the way I'm doing the math on this is Finessers are going to beat Hot Sauce Sports, but Hot Sauce Sports are going to beat Golden Eagles. Sphinx, I'm sorry, yeah. So Hot Sauce Sports are going to get 3 wins. Voodoo is going to get both their wins, and they're going to be at 4, and then Hot Sauce Sports is going to be on the out looking in. That's the math I see happening.
Yikes. That's going to be crazy. I'm really fascinated by this playoff run for that side of the bracket, but just above them, right, we got Beer Belly Brigade and Vultures, gentlemen.
They basically clinched 1 and 2. It's just the order is undecided at this point.
Right.
Beer Belly Brigade did play them in week 7 and won against Vultures, so they would have tie break in a points tie scenario.
Vultures need to win out and hope for another loss by Beer Belly to get that number 1 spot. So the question for you 2 guys: who from that side of the bracket poses a threat to them? Because I don't see anyone. And Eggs, no disrespect to your Honey Martin. I know they were without your services on Sunday. You looked much more athletic watching them play without you being there.
I heard you dissed me
multiple times.
Of course you would. Without me there to defend myself.
They looked so much faster and more. There was more ingenuity in their offense than when you're there. But I don't know if there's any teams 3, 4, 5, or 6 that can take out these top 2 teams. I think we're going to have these 2 teams in the conference finals in mid-May.
Yeah, look, it's leading up to play that way. I will say, even though it was a 2-score win for Beer Belly Brigade over Honey Martin, we felt as though we were pretty much in the game, and they were the better.
In what game?
Against Beer Belly.
Oh, Beer. Okay, I thought you were talking about Arush for a moment. Wait a minute.
No,
you guys didn't play well against Arush. What are you talking about?
No. Against Beer Belly. Look, they were the better team. I'll give them 100% credit for that. But we didn't have our best game, so it wasn't like we played our best. They played very well, and we still couldn't beat them. we played at a 65, 70%, capacity to versus potential. So we feel like if we were, to be at a more closer clip of 90 to 100% best game ever, we have a chance at beating them. But again, just a chance. I don't see Arouche beating them.
No, after watching Arouche against Golden Eagles on Wednesday, it just furthers my opinion that they are nowhere near in that category. They had 2 drives in that game, in the opening 2 drives of their offensive possessions. Inside the 5, couldn't score. They got stopped at the goal line. So if you can't score against a Golden Eagle team that has no athletes whatsoever.
Whoa.
Okay.
Whoa. Okay.
I absolutely disagree with that assessment.
So disagree.
No. You know what? The quarterback for Golden Eagles is pretty good, though. I watched him play. Yeah. He has a good arm. Like I like that guy's arm.
Him.
Yeah, well, the quarterback in Felix Goulet, he's got a really good arm. So
they swapped it to Sarah Parker, didn't they?
No, Parker's not there. She wasn't there on.
And Dawson, why is Dawson Pierre on every single FBS?
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
No.
But I don't buy into Arouche anymore. I can't. They don't look like the team from Fall Cup, and they're a skeleton of that. And I can't see them competing with those top 2 teams in that conference.
So Mo, you saw them. They played two games this week, on Sunday against Honey Martin and then Wednesday against Golden Eagles with different quarterbacks. Yesterday was Eric Lalone on
the normal quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. On Sunday, it was their backup quarterback when he's not there, Raphael Major.
Dagenet. Yeah.
Which of the 2 do you think they should probably go with?
Lalone. Lalone's their guy.
With Lalone. Okay.
Eric Lalone's their guy. Raphael Dagenet, he literally broke your spine with a 40-yard run to start the second half.
I saw that. I saw that was the play-by-play.
Yeah, that was it. But I'm not convinced by Arouche. And after that skunk of a loss to Golden Eagles, that's a bad loss. It's a bad loss because had they won that football game, they're 4-4. They jump you guys for 3.
Yeah.
And now they're in that window where they could get finessers or whatever it is. And again, I just think that from a mindset perspective, that's not how you want to go into the playoffs, stumbling, bumbling, fumbling your way in with the way you played as it was on Wednesday at Hebert.
No, exactly. And look, if going back to the question of who can beat Beer Belly or Vultures, if you want to beat them, you have to put up the points, especially against Vultures. You have to be looking to aim for 40 to 45 points. And I just don't see that kind of offense coming from Arouche without, especially without their main receiver of the year, Simon Loisier. I just don't see that.
And I don't see the fire this year, I believe, right?
He's not at all. No, exactly. Maybe one game, but yeah,
which I don't remember if he did or not. Anyway, yeah, but you're right though about that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
and then Honey Martin plays Vultures last game of the season, so we'll see. We'll see how that game goes.
Right. I'm gonna throw in another team into this next question that we have here for Conference A. So the Bandits are at 4-5. They have one more game left. Los Locos are 3-5-1. Right. Those are your 5 and 6 seeds right now. Iggs and Eagle.
Yeah.
Who's more in trouble? Trying to hold to that final playoff spot because East Side Boys have 3 games to go, and Team Ethnic have 2 more games to go. And by the way, Team Ethnic, terrible loss for them as it was yesterday for them. But both teams have games in hand, and I'm not sure what the schedule is, but if they were to win out their remaining games, they would jump over Bandits and Los Locos. So, Iggs, who's in trouble going to the final 2 weeks of the year?
Well, look, again, you said it. Without looking at the schedule, I would say Los Locos are more in trouble for 2 reasons. First, their lack of FBF experience in general for their final game. Again, without seeing who it is.
They have Mofos.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Mofos are a wicked team. Oh, my God. That quarterback, Sonogo, is unreal.
Yeah.
Once he figures it out playing football, the kid's a stud. Kid's a real dude.
Yeah.
He's a dude.
So, look, Yeah, so for that reason, and then the second reason, because of the tie that they have, that I give the edge for the Bandits with their 4 wins versus Los Locos 3 wins and 1 tie. So Los Locos are more in trouble there.
I think look, Eastside Boys, their last 2 games or 3 games, a big pardon. Team Ethnic, so that's right. There's an elimination game with Ethnic and Eastside Boys, right?
Yeah.
Then they got Golden Eagles and the U. Not an easy run of games, and 2 of the 3 are outdoors. So we got to factor that in, right, gentlemen, about the outdoor weather and how that could be a big issue. And as we saw on Wednesday, it was an ocean downpour of rain in the city, which really was not comfortable to be in if you're outdoors. So East Side Boys, it's gonna be tough for them, right? Whereas Team Ethnic, the way that they lost yesterday, and they lost to Los Locos by 1. And the way they lost yesterday, gentlemen, was 2 plays left. The quarterback for Los Locos threw the ball, and it was dropped in the breadbasket of Afdal Martin's hands. And he dropped it. Next play, they hit a 10-yard out, and the guy goes in for another 5 more yards for the game-winning touchdown.
A 10-yard out from where? From where on the field?
They were at the 20 or at 15.
Oh my God!
So for me, Team Ethnic, they've played with fire this year. Remember?
I was just gonna say they've been playing with. I was literally gonna say the same words. Literally playing with fire. 2 weeks ago, they didn't call the game. They could have easily against Le Verchevol. Last week they lost on the last play to Hot Sauce Sports, but they didn't just lose on the last play. They took a penalty on the last play to give Hot Sauce Sports another chance to win and take the ball from the 7-yard line down up to the 1. So like they now they lose this way. Oh my God! Like Team Ethnic, what? Like are you asking to not make the playoffs? Because like the way you're losing games is setting for just
Hollywood couldn't even script the last 3 weeks as they have gone through.
Oh my God.
It's so in that case though, right? I don't think Ethnic makes it. I think Bandits and Los Locos will hold on, but barely for the final 2 spots in the playoff run.
Yeah, and Ethnic. So yeah, like you said, Ethnic play Eastside Boys and Bandits. So actually, if they want to make it, if they want to right the ship here, they have to win. They have to beat those 2 teams that they're chasing. It's plain and simple.
So speaking of Eastside Boys, Anthony Lazaro, the quarterback, he's put up. How can I describe this? He's put up Chad Pennington-like numbers.
Yeah,
these aren't Madden video game numbers. He plays within his strengths, but could they get better quarterback play from him, Iggy, that they can get into the playoffs and with 3 games left in their season, as we said before, with who they have left?
Well, look, I'll do a raw analysis of just his quarterback play, and then I'll take a look at the schedule, Eagle, if you can pull that up down there. So, yes, he can play better. That's simply said. His 17 TDs to 6 INTs. It's really not enough offense that he's putting up, because you know what, 6 INTs in 6 games. If you're putting up 30 TDs, that's not bad. But putting up 17 only is where they're having problems right now. Now look, a couple games where his brother Dan Lazara was playing receiver, seemed like I was scorekeeping. He seemed to be, firing on all cylinders in those games. In fact, they put up 40 points and haven't done so ever since. So I know he can play better. I've seen it. But now if I look at who they're playing, so Team Ethnic, Golden Eagles, and the U. Look, Ethnic, the way they've been reeling on defense is a prime game for Anthony Lazaro to get back on his quarterback game, so to speak. Against Golden Eagles and the U, that's going to be tougher to do. So he needs his confidence to go up against Team Ethnic. And then if he gets another, if he can string together 2 consecutive strong games against Ethnic and Golden Eagles, then I'm a little more confident going into the final game and going into the playoffs with him.
All right, transition over to 5A, Div 5A, and Div 5B. And there's a little bit more clouds over Conference A in Division 5A. Iggs, do we have an idea of how 1, 2, 3, and 4 will play out? Because Balls Deep is the overall one at 6-2. Ghosts are at 5-3, and they're in the 2-hole. Ravens at 6-2. Backwoods Football Club at 5-3. So they're 3 and 4 respectively. So you have 4 teams within a game of each other, and this could ping pong back and forth, and we could see a different outlook here. But in your mind, do we have a firm idea of who the top 2 seeds will be by the time we're done in a fortnight's time?
And remember, guys, Ghosts are in the Conference A East, being chased by Vultures 2.0. Balls Deep, Ravens, and Backwoods Football Club are all chasing Conference A West #1 seed, right? So there's 2 kind of larger battles going on for then the epic battle for #1 seed.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm glad you say that, because Vultures 2.0, after starting the season 1-4, have reeled in 3 straight wins. So they're actually not just chasing Ghosts, but they're on a 3-game winning streak doing so. So they're hot on their tail. But to the question, look, you said, is there a firm setting on -- 1 and 2 seeds? It's more like soft cheese at this point. It's not Parmesan hard rock cheese here. But if I had to pick 2, and again, they can't be from the same.
Let's work through these then, Iggy. Then so Vultures 2.0 are 1 game back on Ghosts. They have Kings of the North and Ravens on their list. Ghosts,
and by the way, Ghosts play
They play Streets Ahead and Balls Deep in their 2 games, and Vultures has tiebreak against Ghosts.
Yeah, because Vultures 2.0 beat them.
And Balls Deep Ghosts is your last game of the year.
Balls Deep Ghosts, yeah. So that's that. The Ghosts. So if we're tackling the East Division right now,
So can Ghosts get a point from Streets Ahead or Balls Deep? That's the real question.
Ghosts can beat Streets Ahead. Balls Deep is going to be the tougher matchup for them.
Yeah, so let's say we all agree that the Balls Deep game is a loss. Man, that Streets Ahead, I'm telling you, I said it last week on Calling the Audible. Man, Streets Ahead is not a 3-5 record team, man. They are better, and it's not just because I played them and lost to them. It is a extremely frustrating offense to try and stop, because again, you know what's coming, and you still can't beat it. So I don't think that's a gimme win for Ghosts. Now, if Vultures 2.0, bit of an easier time, but I say easier time, but Ravens is a really tough matchup. So I'm going to say Ghosts keep their leader, #1. I can't speak
division
anymore.
leader,
division leader. Thank you. But I see Balls Deep slipping, and Ravens coming up to take the #1 seed in Conference A.
Well, that Balls Deep Ghost game could definitely change the landscape of outlook, that side. Yeah, and it feels like, look, Balls Deep, let's call it for what it is, gentlemen, but they were terrible in the Fall Cup and even the spring season of last year. But it feels like, even though they've been playing with house money, that the bottom will eventually let go and they will slip, in the trap door down the slide. But they look, Buffalo Wild Wings. Who knows what's going to happen in that game in 2 weeks when they play on the 24th? But I think they're lined up for a bad loss, and it could come against Ghosts, and that could change the whole outlook of their season. Where if they were to win these next 2 games, momentum's on their side, but guess what? The pressure builds up. That are they a legitimate 8-2 team? So if they were to have a loss, I'm not saying they should, but if they were to have a loss, it might.
So this is where it gets interesting for the 3 teams that are left. So Balls Deep and Backwoods Football Club both have Buffalo Wild Wings on their schedule. Can we go with an assumption that those are both wins?
Yes.
Okay.
I will say they're both wins, yes.
Okay, so let's start with that assumption first. So then, you talked about it already, Balls Deep have Ghost as their last game, which is a big question mark. But remember, we're holding Balls Deep at 14 points already, right? Because they have that win against BWW. Ravens have Backwoods Football Club and Vultures 2.0 on their schedule, which also means Backwoods Football Club, besides getting the, quote, free win against BWW, so they're already tied at 12, absolutely need to win against Ravens in order to even have a chance to compete for the 1 seed against Balls Deep. Ravens, in order to compete, needs to win one of their 2 games against Backwoods or Vultures, and if they want to claim the 1 seed, they need to win both of their games and hope that Balls Deep drops the game against Ghost. That's essentially the combinations that everyone's going for here.
Right.
Yeah, so
and let's not forget, guys, BWW still has a faint hope to get into the playoffs, right? If they were to win out with help along the way, they would get the 6th seed.
Yeah, they could potentially play big spoilers here for this entire West Conference A spot, right? Like they could just screw things up, or like an unexpected win in a lot of ways that guarantees their playoff spot and screw someone else out of theirs.
They can nuke a lot of teams right now with what they can do, right? It's just fascinating how this division or this conference as a whole. I don't think right now, gentlemen, do we have an idea who the favorite is from that conference? That you can go, this team right here, I have them penciled in for the finals in late May.
Yeah, like I said, there's no firm. It's soft, but it's Ravens. But it's soft. It's soft.
Even then, though, if you look at like all the teams that are in that Conference A grouping, I mean, I know we're talking about these 5 interchangeably. I mean, there is still that number 6 seed that could play spoilers depending on which one it is, right? Like, I mean, Dilfs, obviously, they're out of contention at this point, but who knows? You get a good matchup in the first round, and then you squeeze out a win against one of the 1 or 2 seeds in the second round, and you never know.
It's the plot has so many twists and turns right now on that side.
It's real thick. It is. Yeah, and you know what?
Thick like a bowl of oatmeal.
Which I will have afterwards for my fast, So it's look forward to some oatmeal.
But this is what's fascinating about Division 5, even Division 4, is that the parity is so good. This is where Eagle, I thank you so. I talked about this with David DeAndre. My God, the cap is beautiful when it works out the way like divisions get it set up this way. It's beautiful. The parity is just it's unmatched. You can't get this level of competitiveness in any other football league.
Speaking of beauty, the Reek are 7-0. They're their last lone team that's undefeated here. Eggs. Could Goofy Goobers ruin their perfect season? Because if they were to win out, they would be your 1 seed on Conference B.
Look, they could.
But you skipped through Step Bros, right? Step Bros are losing the game, is what you're saying here?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, look, they can. It's a pretty specific narrative for the game to go in Goofy Goober's favor, but it's not impossible. Kevin Smuda picking off I forget which Sparagna brother it is. I think it's Dante
or Dante.
It's one of the Sparagna brothers. Look, if Smuda can get a couple of turnovers and even return one for a pick 6, that would be like his 3rd or 4th of the season. So it's not crazy to suggest if they can take a few possessions away from the Reed and slow the game clock down. That's something that's a lot more in their control. Then I can see Goofy Goobers ruining the perfect season for the Reed.
It might come at the right time for the Reed because they've had a relatively. I don't know if you have the strength of schedule to tell us if they're false kings or not.
I don't have it on me right now. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No worries. Not a rush at all. You only have one thing to do when you're in Austin to get that ready for us for Thursday's show. That's okay. But their schedule, not that tough. Look, the Reed beat Buffalo Wild Wings. They beat Wubba Double Dubs, right? They beat Dilfs. They beat Mighty Six. Kings of the North, Los Bandidos, which you score kept Iggs. I remember that game where they went 64-0.
Yeah.
And they beat Balls Deep. So in theory, after Balls Deep,
they beat them in week 1 and it was only by 2 points. So
exactly.
even that one, I don't really have faith in.
Right. So could they be the false kings of this division?
Probably. I mean, it looks like it on paper.
They did that first game, just as a side note, that first game against Balls Deep with a 2-point win without Dawson Pierre. And that's a huge that's where a lot of the other score lines get blown out of proportion, is just because of him on the field. Now, look, I'm opening up the REIT and the Mighty Six. He wasn't there. Yeah, you see, look, Dawson Pierre was there for that one, and it was just a 2-point win. The Mighty Six being a very, very, very close variant to Beer Belly Brigade with just Olivier Claveau at quarterback instead of Alex Raffard. You see, their road to perfection is it's not as grand as it seems. Teams like the Mighty Six, teams like Goofy Goobers can put a wrench in their play, not their playoff hopes, but their championship hopes, because that's really what they're seeing.
With Kings of the North, they got 3 games left. Do we give them any chance to get in? With 4 points, they're 2 off the pace from Step Bros, who are in the 6th hole. I have REIT beating them this week. You can put that as a Mocon lock of the week. Yep. So do Kings of the North become royalty and get into the playoffs as your 6th seed, Diggs?
Well, look, yeah, they're also Kings of the North. They don't play the REIT.
No.
You said the lock of the week, but they're playing Goofy Goobers.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Goofy Goobers. Sorry, I beg your pardon. I apologize.
Yeah. So some lock of the week, they're wrong. A team they're not even playing. Look, they're good. Yeah,
I'm fasting, boys.
There's a couple things here. Yeah, I'd say Goofy Goobers. I don't want to be disrespectful and say, scheduled loss, because that's come back to bite me with some Division 6 teams. But it's more who's the quarterback of Kings of the North, right? They're going through a few. Well, I thought they were going through a few rotations at quarterback, but mostly it's been Hugo Quintin or Quintin. 10 TDs, 12 TDs, 10 INTs, 10 sacks. That's just not going to do it. I don't care against who, be it Goofy Goobers, Vultures 2.0, or the Mighty Six. To me, those are 0-3, an 0-3 record. So if the question is, do they have any hope? Already they had to win 2. Oh, they had to win 2. So no,
no way.
It's a no. Yeah, it's a no way.
Flipping to 5B, and we look at the Speakeasy and Trap Stars, Iggy. Speakeasy's 8-1. Trap Stars are 7-1, both in very good position to be your overall 1 seeds for their side of the bracket. If we have to put down some money to be in the championship game, do you got Speakeasy or Trap Stars?
But they could both be there.
I know, but you have to pick one though.
Yeah,
because below them. Below them, there's some good teams below each side of Speakeasy and Trap Stars, though.
Oh, you're not. I thought your question was if they met up in the finals, who would win?
No. I'm going to say, I beg your pardon. I'm going to say you have to put your money on one team to make it to the finals. So one team.
Oh, okay. Okay, to make it out of their conference. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. You see, that changes the question, because I was going to say Trap Stars over Speakeasy if it was a matchup between the two teams. But now I'm looking at Trap Stars competition on their way to the finals. And you got Air Force One, what could have been, even a team like we've talked about them a little bit here, but a relatively unknown team in Team Sexy. These are tough outs. That's a real difficult path to the final. So just, you know what? I'm going to say Speakeasy then to your question. They have a bit of an easier time. Do you have a False King perhaps in lockdown? Save a Horse aren't the same big chested team that they were in the Fall Cup. I see Speakeasy having an easier path.
See, Speak easy. I think they have a little bit more stability at one position. That's quarterback play, right? We talk about their quarterback play and what they have. And this is a team that has had history playing in this division before, in this league before. And with Vincent Richard as their quarterback, he may not put up the sexy numbers that you want from that position, but I just find I will be more lenient towards him, given what he can do as a quarterback. Whereas for Trap Stars, they're young, they're energetic, they sort of become like a farm team for KHP Ronald.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
Cooper Young, he's put up great numbers. But are we going to buy into him in the playoffs where it's a different game? It's not the same thing. It is a different
game. No, it's not. A different game. You have the best of the best, right? That you don't have those weaker competition anymore.
Exactly. Look, he's got some dudes, right? Ryan Garbers did very well for him this year. We talk about Josh Neighbor, who's a mainstay for this team. Kyle Oberfeld, who I like a lot. David Giroux is a good guy as well. But now we're going to see how this team will face. And I think their side of the bracket, when you think about who is left below them, you mentioned before, Iggs, about it's tough, man. This is not an easy road for 5B playoffs
for anyone. Yeah, exactly.
For anyone. Yeah. But look, I know we don't have the stat in front of us, but look at how many close games there are, because Air Force One, I believe, and Eagle, you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, they had 3 games delayed or postponed due to COVID-19, correct? Because of their opponent having COVID-19. Is that correct?
If not,
that's correct.
Not
either
2.
them or their opponent got just delayed.
Right.
It just so happened, yeah.
Right. So they have a 2 games in hand against Trap Stars right now. And if they are to win out, they would finish at 9-1, as would Air Force One, and Trap Stars themselves would finish 9-1. And maybe, and it depends on the tiebreaker scenario with if they had played each other or not. And I believe they did not play each other, if I stand correct. No, they did not play each other.
No.
So who gets the number 1 seed, right? And that could be a big meal ticket for either side, because that means you avoid having that tricky game in round 2 of your playoff run going towards May. And I just think for Trap Stars now, do you want to play 2 Pfizers in that team? Do you want to play them? I don't think so. What could have been is a solid roster as well. And you mentioned Team Sexy. My question for Team Sexy is their inability to put up points on a consistent basis. They're hot or cold at Team Sexy. But if they're hot, I wouldn't want to face this team, because that would become a tricky proposition for Air Force One, or in particular for Trap Stars.
Yeah, that I kind of outlined that the path out of Conference B is nuts. So yeah, that even the variability with Team Sexy that you're alluding to is scary in and of itself. Look, Trap Stars, they do play 2 Pfizers in the last game of the season, so that might be a playoff preview down the line. So they'll get a test of what a playoff matchup could be like. So that's good for them. That's good. That's I'll be quickly wanting to click on the scoreboard on that one and see how they fared. Now look, Air Force One, they have 4 more games, but they also have 4 more games in which they could potentially lose, right? So just as an odds perspective, that's not great for their odds to get to the number 1 seed. But then you look at who they're playing, and it's mostly wins, but they have what could have beens in there. So both teams have near the end of the schedule, they have a kind of playoff preview into what's to be out of Conference B.
Speaking of preview right now, right, for Conference B, 3 in, 2 out. So you have 5 teams left for 3 spots here, Iggy. So right now, the 4, 5, and 6, what could have been Trailer Park Boys, Team Sexy. On the outside is Warriors and See If the Turf Tolls. 3 in, 2 out.
I really think you're underestimating the amount of movement that can happen here, right? Because all the way up until 4 space is still potentially up for grabs. Arguably, even 3 seed is up for grabs.
It could be, but we'll keep them out, because right now I'll say that they're on the borderline. They are at the borderline of the passport of victory for them to get to that playoff spot at 10 points. Like, generally speaking, 10 points should be enough. 5 wins should be enough to get in the playoffs on this side.
Not here, anyways. That might not be true. Mo, that's not true here.
Could
if you're
be,
looking at this.
but we'll keep for the exercise purpose that they're okay. We'll say they're okay for now, right? But for 4, 5, and 6, and with 7 and 8 still there, 3 in, 2 out, who you got in, who you got out?
Holy crap. This is we just covered what 5A, Conference A was nuts. This 5B, Conference B is just as crazy. Like you have Save the Turtles. They're a win away from being in the playoffs, so to speak. I mean, they depending on what happens to Team Sexy, but
Save the Turtles have not Mustangs and what could have beens on their schedule. They need to win at least one to have a chance.
Yeah, and the other one was not Mustangs.
Yeah, they're 3 and 5 right now.
They're also 3, so a team just like them. I can see them pulling out a win against not Mustangs, but losing to what could have been. So that's giving them giving them a chance. I don't see how the Warriors can't make the playoffs after winning Tier 3 of the Fall Cup. They're just like good for them for finally moving up into like a Division 5 team. They were massively taking their shot at a Division 6 championship for a few years there. But
this is where it gets really interesting because Warriors have 3 games left. They have Trap Stars. They have replacements, and in the last week of the season, they have Team Sexy, who they are currently tied with.
So you see that because they're going to get a win against replacements, barring any actual replacements that play like university level football. They'll get a win there. That it might very well come down to that last game of the season between Team Sexy and Warriors. Who's gonna make it in now?
Team Sexy have Trailer Park Boys as the other game left on their schedule, which they are also currently tied with. Trailer Park Boys,
fight right now.
Besides having that as their last game, they have Air Force One on their schedule too, and the what could have beens have 4 games left against Bin, Lockdown, Air Force One, and Save the Turtles.
Man, you know what, Eagle? My playoff theory would have worked so well this year for this side of the division, the 5B, man. Damnation.
What is it? Is it your March Madness thing again, Mo?
No. Something better.
Okay. You've given up on March Madness?
No, we'll do March Madness next winter.
Okay. Look, so I'll pick 3 teams. I like what could have beens getting in there. I like Warriors getting in there. And then that leaves the Team Sexy, Trailer Park Boys, and Save the Turtles. I have to pick one. Give me one of the teams that's already in there. So Team Sexy. So what could have been Team Sexy and Warriors.
Okay, so Trailer Park Boys will be in the outs then, who are currently holding the playoff spot.
Yeah. Eagle, you said Air Force One.
They have Air Force One and Team Sexy.
That's a lot.
So.
Yeah, unfortunately, and it's not because you guys beat me and eliminated me from the Fall Cup last year, but yeah, you guys are going to be seeing red in the 7th seed.
Yeah, it's not going to be.
It's
they're
tough.
going to be ready.
It's really tough. It's tough.
Yeah, not easy. Speaking of not easy, not speakeasy, but we're talking about cookers. They are running out of racetrack. With them at 2 and 6 binds, or hold on, did they not tell us the proper pronunciation?
Bins.
Yeah, that's right. I beg your pardon. Bins. They're 2 and 4. They got 2 games in hand here. Red Dragons are in the last spot at 3 and 4. Do Cookers?
And they are playing Red Dragons next week, and then their last game is the San Francisco 69ers. So you can go from 2 wins to 4 wins real fast.
Exactly. So the question now, gentlemen, is do they have a chance, given that their schedule is very winnable, that they could get into the playoffs?
Look, they could, but then even if they make it into the playoffs, I don't like their chances then making making headway in the Conference A championship run. But yeah, look, they have a chance. I kind of missed out on who you said they play. Cookers.
So Cookers are playing Red Dragons and San Francisco 69ers. Also
Oh,
of
right.
note that's important here is there's likely going to be a multiple point tie race for all these spots. As of now, Cookers have the tie break against Threat Level Midnight and not Mustangs because of the head-to-head, but are losing the head-to-head against Bin in its current breakdown over here for those particular seats. So,
but if
if you get in the three-way tie, I mean, then you go into point differentials and everything, of which they're not great, but they're not bad. Like, they're second in theory. I mean, Bin could potentially be better, but I mean, if they drop a couple games, who knows? So this could be really coming down to the wire to figure out exactly what's going to happen here for all these teams.
Yeah, which is amazing. Like, honestly, is this not the goal of FPF that like it comes down to your final week? Like this is the golden standard. Like for us media members, right? Like talking about this would be so boring if we already knew all 6 playoff teams, right?
Well,
like,
I like the WrestleMania stuff.
Oh, are you alluding to
I love WrestleMania, right? Which is much more exciting than these playoff races that we have here.
Right. Yeah. So look, Cookers looks like they have a very an 80. I'm gonna give them an 81.6% chance of making the playoffs. You know, like the Sunday Night Football where they gave the percentages.
Yeah, with Steve Karnacki doing the percentage points, right? They lose this game, they drop down by 14%, but they win, they improve by 35%. So
there you go.
What they do.
Yeah, with the khakis on, and he's wearing the khakis. Yeah,
of course, Steve Karnacki. Okay, last question before we go here. Just give me a number here, Iggy. No in depth here. Just a number right now. Lockdown will not be a perfect team this year, so no invincible season for them. They lose in a heartbreaker. They're 7-1 now. Yeah. Iggy, how many teams are better than Eagles lockdown as of today?
In Conference A or all of
all over A and B, my friend.
Okay, I'll give you you want me to give you teams or just a number?
Just give me the teams, whatever teams you have. You have 4 teams, list those 4 teams. Or you have 5 teams or 1 team, go ahead, my friend.
You know what? I'm going to give you 3 teams, and none of them are from the same conference. Do you want to know
Trap Stars, Air Force One, and 2 Pfizers?
And what could have been?
Eagle right now giving us the look.
I don't know, Eagle. Are you giving us
Eagle's
a look?
Giving us the look right now.
I just don't care.
Yeah, it's I don't care. He's putting his group that, hey, these idiots here are saying that we are trash.
Yeah. So you don't care. So it's championship or bust. It's just bust for you. Like you don't care.
No, I don't care about your opinions because this script was written about an hour ago.
Bleep both of you idiots.
Yeah. I'm saying but Eagle, if you read between the lines, and I know you're a smart guy, really smart guy, I'm saying you're going to the finals and not doing the roadshow for Division 5.
I'm very much aware of what you suggested there. Yes.
No, don't worry. He's gonna schedule it that he will do the roadshow. Like Rob's gonna. This is what's gonna happen. Okay, if lockdown make it to the finals. Gee, Eagle, when can we put this final here? Because we need you for the roadshow. At the end of the day, we can't have Simon or Iggy or Mo do the roadshow. You are the brain of the roadshow, right? So he's gonna have to finagle Eagle to kind of put his final at a proper time, so there's no glitches when he's available to do the roadshow.
Look.
Yeah.
We've never had to deal with the situation, obviously, but if ever we get to that point, I already have a plan, so we're okay.
Oh man, I'm pulling for you to make it to the finals to just have utter chaos because I'm not available for the Saturday, and then if you put the finals on the Saturday, oh my God, who's going to be the commander in chief of the ship? I'm not too sure.
I think we actually talked about this a little bit last week, so I don't know if Eagle kind of got inspired from our conversation last week. But what's more likely to happen is that it'd be one of the last games, so that Eagle gives enough a training time to someone on master control.
Carlo.
Yeah, literally that. I'd do the first couple, someone would do the next ones, and I'd supervise, and then I'd go warm up.
You hover over their shoulder, exactly.
And he'll still be supervising on the sidelines. Guys, don't start the game yet. Don't start the filming yet. We're still in warm-ups, so.
Your whistle's off! Your
whistle's off!
Speak,
Leo, do not start the game yet, please. Anyway. On to Div 6. As we move along here on this enjoyable podcast of CTA.
Before we start Div 6, I just wanted to ask you guys, do you help around doing chores around home and everything? Is that something you guys do on a regular basis?
Of course.
What is your least favorite chore to do?
Well, I like washing
for me, it's hanging the laundry because in winter we do it in the garage because that's the warmest part of the house. And so it's just an annoying thing because, you got to go and, summertime is fine because you put it on the water outside. It's cool. But winter, you got to put it, man. Like as soon as it's washed, bam, it's going to be hung ASAP. You can't let it hang out in the washing machine in winter.
Yeah, so look, actually washing the clothes is not a problem because I don't want to wear dirty clothes. Washing dishes is not that bad because I want to eat and I want to cook something. I have to agree with Mo here. Somewhat. It's actually folding the laundry and putting it back into its drawers.
Fun. I like vacuuming the house.
It's annoying.
Vacuuming's fun.
Yeah, so I will do any household chore except for dusting. I will never dust. It is the bane of my existence. I hate dusting and anything association, any association at all to any type of dustpan, dustbin, duster, anything of that category.
Yeah, I don't do it. The only time I dust is when I have people coming over. That's it. Otherwise, I don't care if there's a bit of dust accumulating on my TV stand. Yeah, I don't care.
So I guess what we're all saying is we don't care about dusters.
No. We don't. We don't care about the dusters. No, we don't. Maybe we'll talk about them. It was on our to-do list, right?
Maybe this was the talk.
This was the talk, right? Yeah. So there you go. Yeah. Dusters, you had your love for today in Div 6. All right. Div 6. There's Eagle, have we come to a conclusion of how this playoff will be? Are we still up in the air with the playoffs?
TBD.
Okay, perfect. As we get closer and closer, we don't know what's going on.
Or maybe we have decided and we're just not revealing it. You don't know.
Well, it would be nice to reveal as soon as possible so teams have
You're not my supervisor.
I'm not, but I'm just saying.
Well, okay. Does your magical playoff solution for Division 4 and 5 work in Division 6?
No.
Oh,
it has to work in a smaller sample size for me to take over the playoff world here.
Okay.
One division at a time. That's how I see it.
Right.
Okay. So Division 6, since we don't know what the playoff format is, but we do know that if you're in red, you can still get into the green part of your playoffs. It could be split into two. We don't know. So let's just go on the theory that we're going to have a split of two playoffs, right?
Yep.
So we look at Division 6, Wild Hogs, Team Poland, free agent squad. Do they have any prayer, whether they pray to whatever God they have, that they can get in and snatch the last playoff spot over Lionhearts or the Fighting Henrys of their division?
So Wild Hogs have Team Poland on their schedule and then wrap up with V-Town, who are middle of the pack right now. Team Poland obviously have Wild Hogs left in their schedule and have Toon Squad, who are... Hold on, why can't I find them here?
They are 5-3 in Conference B, 5-3.
That's why, yep. And then Free Agent Squad have Beer Knights and Zidane La Frappe left on their schedule. This is after going into a 14-6 loss against Demons last week. So it seems like they still haven't truly solved their quarterback problems. I think their roster is actually consistent that week, but
it was close. That was a close game. Okay, yeah, I'll take that. So look, free agent squad, Team Poland. Thanks for playing. But Wild Hogs will jump over. But then you kind of need the Lionhearts schedule up there too, Eagles. So they play the flag football team and Dusters 2.0. So look at that. We're talking about Dusters 2.0.
And Dusters 2.0 did beat Wild Hogs 42-7.
Oof. Okay. Yeah.
Well, FYI.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so
So
that's Lionhearts, and then you also have Henry Pisagang, who are left with Dusters 2.0 and seventh rounders on their schedule.
okay, so
Yeah.
Dusters 2.0 actually hold a lot of the cards in terms of which teams they can eliminate from playoff contention here.
Or
But
at
yeah,
least
that
make
that
their challenge even harder, right? Because
right,
technically, a
right,
lot of these
right.
teams are in spots, but depending on
Yeah.
tie breaks and everything, it moves all
Right, right,
around.
right. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, yeah. Because well, and honestly, those teams are gonna have to be Dusters 2.0 because, like, for Henry Pisagang, that seventh rounders game is real tough. What are they? They're in the fifth seed right now at 6-2, so that's gonna be a real tough out. I like Wild Hogs jumping in and Henry Pisagang coming out, unfortunately for them. They're gonna have to give it all they've got to keep their playoff spot, but I think Wild Hogs are gonna jump them.
Yeah, I think Wild Hogs have a good chance to get in there. Um, I think Henry Pisa Gang. It's a bit tricky for them. Lionhearts, I believe in them. With the history playing in this league here. But for Wild
Yeah.
Hogs, my question is, who's the quarterback? Who will be the quarterback moving forward?
Well, I don't have full confirmation, but I'm like I want to say 92% sure it's Jason Armenti. So a more of a he's not super veteran quarterback, but
But you're not
he's
trusting them though. You're gonna trust them to win you football games?
I
I'll
see
trust.
it more as Jason Armenti coming in to fill in for a
Yes.
quarterback position rather than
Yes.
being a
Yeah.
quarterback. Like it's a, hey, I'll give it a try and I'll take my lickings as I go through this schedule, not a I will get us a playoff seat.
So
Well,
he's gonna
yeah,
weather the storm. He's gonna manage the football game,
As best as he can.
which is not going to be the best that will be required to win in the playoffs.
oh, so now, so okay, so we're now talking about once they're in the playoffs. So you're
If they get in, there's no way in hell
uh,
they're going to go far. Jason Armenti as a quarterback.
not go super far, but they could have a first
What's super
round.
far for you though? If Wild Hogs get in, what's super far for you? One playoff
You're
win?
right. Yeah, you're right. One playoff win would be far.
That's your championship right there if they get a playoff win.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
They can just say, they can call Eagle or Rob Capan, listen, we got our playoff win, we're going to forfeit the next game, and we'll pay the $100
Yeah,
fine.
so like if they get into that 13 or 14th seed, I don't see them beating seventh rounders, Stormers, Spanish Inquisition, flag football team. So
Well,
yeah,
it depends on how the playoff thing is broken down, right? Because if we go two separate things, they might get a favorable matchup, and I'll be eating my
That's
words
true.
saying, "Hey, Mo Khan, you bleeped up by saying that we have no chance." But
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
hindsight, they do get in. They could be playing a Maccabees. They could be playing Flamingos, whatever it might be at that point. So
Yeah.
and that Eagle and you particularly, very well, the unknown of playing a team that you've never played before could be an advantage for that team. That might be the wounded animal going to the playoffs.
Yep. Nice there with the wild hog there. I just pictured Pumbaa injured, and that kind of made me sad for a
You
second.
know what? We laugh at wild hogs, but they are a dangerous animal.
Oh yeah, they're vicious. Yeah.
Eagle, can you put up on the board a razorback and how they can kill people, please?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right,
He's
Eagle.
in one of those. He's in one of those.
He's in that jet lag mood. I flew from Austin to O'Hare, and I hate O'Hare, and I don't want to be here anymore. And
okay, so it's gonna sound super soft, but my God, is flying not exhausting, Eagle? Like it's nothing more than sitting and waiting. But my God, it's like
it's the
it's
process
just
of flying.
It's exhausting.
It's dealing with stupid people. That's what it is.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
it's the process of flying, though, right? Like you have to go through this, you have to go through that, you have to wait for your thing, and this adds up, right? And you just like, okay, cool, let me get to my destination.
But after you do it for so long, you bring it down to somewhat of a science. Like you know exactly how long it takes for you to pack your bag, to get to the airport, to go through security and everything. So, like. As an example, I left this morning the same time as my colleague who had a flight 45 minutes after me, and I'm like, you're leaving way too early, dude.
Okay, so in this format, and again, if there was a split for Div 6, who should be the number one seeds today?
On on each side of the split.
Like, are we convinced that Thunder Buddies? Are we
Yeah.
convinced that the Penetrators are your overall one seeds for the higher divisions?
So if I was to look at take a conference A number one seed and conference B, yes, for conference A, Thunder Buddies are your clear number one seed. Even though there are good teams below them, FKU, Beer Knights, they're good, more than formidable teams. Eagle, did you blow the
horn?
Yes, you are, because he's so bored.
He's calling the horn here. It's calling the audible, not calling PTI here. Oh God. So look, yeah, Thunder Buddies are your favorites and number one seed, Conference A. But Conference B, it's not as easy of an answer as just throwing it out as the Penetrators. Glory Boys, Tropic Thunder, those are teams that could beat Penetrators. So Thunder Buddies, and give me I was gonna say Glory Boys. Yeah, give me Glory Boys as your number one seed from that side of the bracket.
Look, I'm going FKU, man.
Oh, okay.
They have proven yours truly wrong for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know, and they honor themselves by changing the name from FSU to FKU.
Yeah.
As of yours truly. You know,
yeah.
So I have them. I think Penetrators will be a very high seed. I think FKU deserves the chance to be as a top end seed. Again, depending on how the split goes for this division here. So I'll go FKU as a team to watch out for the final 3 games. If they do win out, you know, it puts them in a strong position to be your overall one going towards the playoffs here.
Do you actually see FKU winning out, though? Because they have Two Guarani is probably the gimme on their schedule. But
yeah.
Dusters 2.0 Big Fat Bats aren't necessarily the easiest of matchups here. So this could be a rough ride for the last game.
But, Eagle, if they were to sweep them, it would just add more credibility to their record, to their menu, that they deserve to be a high-end seed.
But are they gonna sweep them, though?
Oh, yes. Oh, there's not a doubt in my mind they will. But that still doesn't make them. They played Thunder Buddies earlier this year, 38-33 loss against Thunder Buddies. So they need the defensive effort to beat a team like Thunder Buddies.
Yeah,
and I don't think they're there yet. They have the offensive capabilities to keep the game close, yes, but on defense against a team like Thunder Buddies, no.
One team that I'm watching out for, that I got the scorekeep a couple weeks ago, and I couldn't bring it up last week because I wasn't with you guys last week.
Yeah,
West Island boys, watch out for this team. I like West the composition of how they've been built. I love their quarterback.
Combination of Pierrefonds, Kirkland, Saint Anne,
DDO, El Bazar. We can throw in there as well. Centerville.
No, that's off island. Let's not count that. That's another team.
Centerville's is it off island? On island? No, Centerville's the last. No,
that's another. There's another.
El Bazar is off island. It's literally another fucking island mode. It's called Il
Bazar.
Yeah,
and there's another team called the Off Island Boys. So leave that for them.
But you know, Nick Richard, he's a quarterback that I really like. Zach Stacy really has a knack to make a big play when it's like 3rd and long. And Skylar Bailiff, who's playing in a hard Division 2 with Incredibles, also a big thing. And I just love how their defense played. You look at their defense this year, guys, and what they've done. I think they're at 20 INTs already this year. And they have the nose, and they already have 4 pick sixes already. They could be a team that I think in the higher division, I know they got Flamingos and Maccabees coming up in the final 2 games of the year, but they could really be a dark horse team that no one talks about that could peak at the right time. Even though they lost the Toon Squad by 1, which is a good Toon Squad, I like how this team has been built, and I'd like to see them go far in whatever side of the playoffs they'll be in.
So the problem, and I'm starting negative because I actually really like the team a lot, especially Nick Richards' rushing ability and ability to gain time in the pocket or outside of the pocket, rather. I really like. The skill is there. But I've seen this too many times in FPF where you're too reliant on one or two guys, and it doesn't work out. It's not. It can get you around or even two down into the playoffs, but for 3 and 4 wins in the playoffs, it's usually a more balanced team that can spread the ball where everyone has a specific role. And just I just don't see what you see.
They have seven players with two plus touchdowns. Iggs, that's balance.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. You're putting me up with stats. That's good. Maybe
I see your point though. To counter to see what you said before, there is an imbalance of yards after catch, the production.
Right. Yeah, but, and targets. If I'm not, I'm trying to.
Because Bailiff and Stacey have a combined 62 targets.
Yeah. Again, I have so many tabs open that I lost track of where mine is.
Whereas everyone else has, I think, 44 in total.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's just not only do the targets show that, but like the visual eye test also shows you that like it's either pass to Stacey, pass to Bailiff, or run are like the number 3 options on offense for them.
But that's okay though. In this division, that's all right. Like,
you're right. Yeah.
Like when you get to a higher division where your arm is more predicated than your legs, but in this type of environment, having legs that can go for days of running, is okay. It's not a handcuff to the quarterback position in lower divisions. I think it's great. And for Richard to do what he's done with on almost 400 yards rushing already, that's a pretty big X factor if he has to get out of a hole to get his team more real estate to work with.
So keep an eye on keeping an eye out for them. I agree. And is winning a playoff and even 2 playoff rounds not keeping an eye out for them, and I think that's what they can do. I think they can make it to like round 3 of however we break up the Division 6 playoffs. I think it's going far and making a statement.
Right. Going to co-ed now, and a lot going on in co-ed, in particular with Bishop Sycamore. It appears they may have found their quarterback here, Iggs.
Yeah,
they're hot. They're playing well. Now with Sarah Parker as their quarterback, do they now have a real Mike Tyson punch-out chance to maybe run the table here and be a threat in the playoffs?
So speaking of running the table, they started the season 0-4. They've now riled off 4 wins back to back. And they split the last 2 wins between Sarah Parker and Tommy Rodley Trojados. Look, I think they can. I think they can roll. The last 2 weeks they have a sriracha hot chili sauce. Those are, and they're both 4-4. I think beating those 2 teams, going on a 6-game win streak into the playoffs, I like their chances of pulling an upset or 2 and making a deep playoff run. Yep.
So if they were to win out, they would be 6-4, and that would probably put them in the range of, if we're going to say Party Mix and Power Rangers are going to be your 1 and 2, so that
like
put
a 3 seed.
3.
Yeah,
and that's now based off of matchup dependent on who they would have, and they could face Sriracha hot chili sauce again, which isn't the easiest matchup. But
it's not. Oh no, it's not easy. Yeah,
no.
It's definitely not easy. And imagine this: beating them twice. Sriracha drops to the 6th seed. They end up playing Sriracha, playing them back to back weeks. That's really hard to do. To beat a team, not only to beat a team 3 times in one season, but to beat them 3 times in a row is for some reason, I don't even know why, but that seems like almost like an impossible task, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's hard. Like the old saying is that beating team once is tough, beating them twice is hard. To beat them 3 times is incredibly hard. And the thing is, in this division, as we know, there are so much familiar faces on these teams that everyone knows
Yeah.
how everyone
Yeah.
plays. Whether
Yeah.
you could be on 10 different teams, but they know how you are as a football player. And I just think now for Sarah Parker to be the quarterback of this team, you're right. They can be peaking at the right time. But the thing is now for Sarah Parker in co-ed, if you remember in the spring season when we had the finals with Lachine, she didn't have a good game in the finals. She had a really bad game in the finals.
Yeah.
And we go back to matchup dependent. And the reason why she had a bad game is that the rusher for that team that they had played against was like 6'6" and took away passing lanes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And
depending
they're
who
again,
that pass,
right?
depending who that pass rusher is, Iggs, that can really change the dynamics for this Sycamore offense and how they play.
Yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, so you're saying Parker's a bit matchup dependent. I mean, throw a 6'6" in front of a guy or girl in front of any quarterback, and
even Kevin Wyeth, he'll tell you the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not necessarily a slight on Sarah Parker.
No, it isn't. It's a question of having that great matchup that can enable her to have a day where she's able to use her strengths to the full capabilities.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be interesting how they wrap up the season and whether they can get a 3 seed and maybe play Sriracha a third time, or a team like 2.5 Kittens. They if I'm not mistaken, that's one of the teams that have succumbed to Bishop Sycamore in their 4-game win streak. Just last week, 28 to 24. So that's a team that Sarah Parker herself beat. So it's going to be a real interesting ride for Bishop.
Yeah, it definitely will be. And I'm intrigued by how that plays out. I'm most intrigued by the play of the year. We talk about Jessica Bostappen, who has 20 sacks.
Yeah, we talked about it like a couple. We kind of jokingly, but not jokingly at the same time, kind of said she had a 9-sack performance. That's now in the record books for most sacks in the game.
Yeah.
We kind of joked that she'd win Defensive Player of the Year with just that performance. But we take a look now, and my God, 11. She's added 11 more sacks, which just 11 on their own, that would be leading the division. So has she it's insane numbers she's been putting up. So did she wrap up the Defensive Player of the Year? Can we say that?
Now here's the thing though, right? How many Eagle? I don't know if you know offhand. Which GM was here with us? Jim Clarethris. He would know. How many pass rushers have won outright Defensive Player of the Year?
Outright?
Yeah, because I find
maybe 3. I'm thinking off the top of my mind. Carl Denis probably got one. Ryan Aridi might have got one. Zachary Alberts-Gill might have gotten one. Kirak might have gotten one. Those are the and Julien what's his name?
Payment?
Yeah, Julien Payment might have also gotten one. So there's a few that kind of make my mental short list here. Now, how many of them actually won is a very different question.
Because the problem is, Eagle and Iggy, is that I find that the pass rusher position is devalued when it comes to awards because of what they do as a position. Like INTs are going to be valued higher because if you
one to one, yes, 1 pick to 1 sack, yes, okay,
right. Because you brought up the point of Wade Shallcross and Kevin Malonga, both with 5 INTs, right? And Malonga has a pick 6 to it.
For the record, Wade Shallcross won Defensive Player of the Year last year in co-ed.
Right. So does that is that going to hurt the voting?
Rafa Morelli won Defensive Player of the Year for 21 sacks with the Blue Dreamers, but he also had some tackles. So, I mean, yeah, you know what? It actually happens more often than we think if we're actually looking at the data.
But would this be held against Bostappen that she had literally a full cake's worth of sacks in one matchup?
No, and especially I remember calling the Audible episode that I was on talking about it. That was against Joey Taylor. So if anything, it adds credibility to the number of sacks.
Actually, I disagree with that.
1 yard sacks, yeah.
Yeah, because that's his system, right? If he's like, well, I'd rather not.
He takes the sack. Yeah.
Take the 1 yard run. I'd rather take the 1 yard sack and run another play.
So let me ask you a question then, guys. Yeah. Let's say she was on 11 sacks. Is she in this conversation for DP of the year, Defensive Player of the Year?
No. So she's still. No, hold on.
No, so that's why, because that one game, that's not nothing against her, but that one game is going to put her in a position to win this award.
It's still 9 sacks in one game, and
for sure, but
even then,
it's not on a singular event though, right? It's on a season.
Like let's say you have like we talked about Brotherhood, right? Quavy Gordon-Mall had 3 interceptions in that game. If he ends the season with 10 interceptions, is that a great season for him, or are we gonna say, well, this is just one game, he got 3 of them because Garber had a bad game and put it into his chest 3 times in a row?
It's like Chandler Jones.
I'm not looking at it. I'm not. No, I like as a person who's picked Player of the Year. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at your raw stats, the way they stand out. Okay, maybe I'll deep dive and look at once we've narrowed the list down to 2 or 3 girls or guys, and I'll take a look at individual game performances. But even rare to do that. But then to see against who it was done and what quarterback and like
I just think to Mo's point though here, if you're gonna look at the overall repertoire of work that's been done,
body work,
and she's averaging 2 sacks a game, which is crazy, right? Like that's really good statistically.
Yeah.
But if you take out one of those games, her average goes down to 1 sack a game. That's okay. That's not Defensive Player of the Year numbers anymore, right?
No, you're hitting singles at that point. You're not hitting doubles or triples or home runs at that point.
Yeah. But the question was, is she in the conversation? I think she's still in the conversation because no one has, again, the 1-to-1 pick to sack ratio. Like no one has 11 interceptions to her. Let's narrow -9 to her 9 sacks or 11 sacks. So I think she's still in the conversation. It's now not a question of is she in the front running position, but she's in the conversation even with 11 sacks.
I think if she can put up, she's at 20 sacks now, right? With 2 more games to go.
Yeah.
If she can put up 5 more sacks, I think it puts her in great position to win this award.
So you don't think she's in the lead, like the front runner right now?
I just find that, again,
raw numbers, yes. But if you actually want to pick from players, that will play a factor in decision makers.
Yeah, I just find that even though I say that, hey, do we value the rush position, which we do, as Eagle made the point that there has been past winners of late.
Yeah.
But the fact, and it goes back to this point, Chandler Jones of then the Arizona Cardinals last year, week 1 against Tennessee, had 5 sacks.
Yeah.
Right? Then he went literally like 9 games, and then he had 4 more sacks. He ended up like 10.5 sacks at the end of the day. Right? People thought defense played there. Not going to happen because he was invisible those rest of the games. But the fact that, and by no fault to her, because it is what it is, she got the sacks, and that's a testament to her ability. She got literally what is it now? She's at 20, so she got 45% of her sacks in 1 game.
You're skewing the percentage.
But I'm saying though, but in the other games though, if she was going 2 sacks per game, 2 sacks per game, 2 sacks per game,
yeah.
Like even like a 4-sack game with a 1-sack game, that's still better than 9-1 and 0 in another type of thing. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it just. That's what I'm curious to see is how will the vote break down when it comes to her? Like, are we going to deep dive the numbers and see how she was in the rest of the games, whereas she got 45% of her sacks, which is monstrous in 1 game. So,
and I think again, this is especially coming down to the fact that we're talking about the sack category specifically, because you can argue like a receiver, even if they get all their touchdowns in a game, they were dominant in that game. If someone gets a lot of interceptions in a game, they were dominant in that game. A rusher who happens to get sacks against a single quarterback who is notorious for taking sacks, it's and the only reason why you win is because of your rushing ability. Does this truly indicate it, or is it just gimmies that were handed
it's like
to you?
here,
That's the real question here.
I know we're not baseball guys, right? It's what it is. But it's like with the Colorado Rockies to play in Denver. Iggy, you've been to Denver numerous times, right? It's mile high air out there, right? So they get knocked over because a lot of the hitters will hit the ball out of the park because of the rarefied air up in Denver, right? And they say it skews numbers because when they go on the road, they're average hitters. In a way, it's sort of like that where she might get skewed on the number that, hey, she was able to get 45% of her sacks in 1 game, but the other games, she's average. But she's a really good pass rusher at the end of the day.
Yeah. We're splitting hairs here. Like when we're not saying
it's gonna be. I can't wait for the vote how this breaks down for the voting for this
Yep.
award here.
Yep.
Co-ed 2, after 8 weeks, who's our favorite here, Diggs?
In co-ed too, I think it's a great question because I asked it. No, I think it's no. I actually think it's a good
We
question.
got Fit Squad, right? Kiss My End Zone and Y, all within one game of each other, or 3 points of each other, but 1.5 games between each other with 2 to go.
Yeah, so I think it's actually like a really you're going to be nitpicking, flaws and strengths from each of these teams, and that's why I think it's a good question to ask. Look,
is it only a conversation of top 3, or do 3 Hunters actually have a fighting chance here? Because they've had some pretty good games.
I think they have. I like the way you put it. They have a fighting chance to be in the conversation too. Yeah, but look, does another way of asking this is, does the record speak for itself? Right? Is Fit Squad at 6-1-1? Does that make them like the clear cut favorite? I mean, I don't think so. Kiss My End Zone has, like, I'm on the team, but they have their own flaws. But again, if you look at the numbers, you don't see those flaws necessarily. 217 points for, that's the most. 96 against, that's the least. But I don't see Kiss My End Zone as the clear cut favorite. They lost to Y&Y, real close game. They're a little. I think everyone's a little matchup dependent. It's kind of that Spider-Man meme we talked about last week, Eagle, where Fit Squad beat Kiss My End Zone, but Kiss My End Zone beat 3 Hunters, but 3 Hunters beat Fit Squad, and Y&Y beat Kiss My End Zone, but Y&Y lost to Lesect, right? Like, I think it's just an interesting question. Like, maybe does it come down to, or is it better asked, who has like the best quarterback out of the teams to determine who's the best team?
Yeah, I think tier 2 is a bit more open ended.
It is.
It's more open ended. There's more questions than answers of solid footing for some of these teams, and I think now at this point of the year, gentlemen, it's who's going to peak at the right time. And it could be 3 Hunters, as Eagle made the point before. It could be.
It really could, because, and we say this all the time, and maybe I was asking the wrong question. Maybe it's not about who has the best quarterback. We always say that co-ed is about the women in the game, because you always have to have two women on the field. So maybe it's a question of who has the best women on their roster. And 3 Hunters, they have a case to be the team with the best females on there. With Rekha, she, I think, has like 250 passing receiving yards, a sprinkle in some 4 or 5 touchdowns. She's right up in the top 10 of receivers, which you don't necessarily see with the other 3 teams.
And so here's where it gets a little bit interesting in terms of the final couple games in this grouping. 3 Hunters have Y&Y and La Secte left on their schedule, which could put them at a 5-4-1 record in theory. Y&Y obviously have 3 Hunters and end with Kiss My End Zone as their last game. They could potentially drop those and end up 500. Kiss My End Zone have Fit Squad and Y&Y under schedule. So that's, again, a battle for the top seed, but also a battle of the egos. Can I call it that at this point? So there's, I mean, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because, whoever juggles those top 4 doesn't really change all that much for the standings. But hey, I mean, if you want to not have a game and get a first round bye, getting those first 2 spots are important. So Y&Y wants the wins. 3 Hunters potentially wants the wins to at least get the higher seed in the next grouping, so they can avoid Fit Squad potentially in the next round. So, I mean, there is a little bit of jostling that's going to happen in here, and I think it's more the last couple of weeks are a reputation battle rather than a points battle.
Eggs, who's your favorite to win 2A Player of the Year?
I was looking at the standings, and I mean, you can make a great case, or a case can be made for Alison Francillon. He, to me, is your leader for 2A Player of the Year. He's just dominating defensively with his interceptions, and I believe he has the most touchdowns he has 9 touchdowns. That leads the divisions. He leading in receptions with 48, and second in yards, only behind Ryan Dobbs-Garnett. He has Allison Francio's has 393. So he's been dominant on both sides of the field. And you know what, for Lissect, he's been a not just him, but he's been really like carrying the team. But now he's gotten the other members of the team to be more excited to play, been improving their game. So, but it's in large part to Francio, and he's done it potentially now for winning a two-way player of the year.
All right, flipping over to the women's division as we now are at the conclusion of their season. And Eagles, can we announce anything yet for what we have planned for the finals, or are we still holding off until further notice?
We're going to hold off for just a bit longer.
Okay. Cool.
Suffice to say we're doing something.
It's going to be cool. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
It'll be very cool. And
nice.
We look forward to bringing it to you guys on May 2nd, I believe, right? Is the finals for the women's division?
Yep.
Right, so May 2nd, which
so
is Monday Night Football.
We're doing the final plannings here, and let's just say we're going to take the road show on the road show.
It's a road show of a road show. How about that?
Interesting. So it's a meta. It's Inception here. Okay.
It's cool. It's cool. The idea that's been hatched out and now it's starting to go into the foundation of this whole project. It looks cool. It
nice.
should be cool if it's pulled off. If it's pulled off well, it's going to come off very neat and tidy for everyone to enjoy. How about that?
Yeah, I think on the media side, and I think Iggy, you even mentioned in our group chat, I think we got the message loud and clear from our conversation with Sarah Parker last week about how we want to make the women's experience the same as we've had for all the other divisions across the years, and so that's what our goal is essentially for this finals, trying to make it as roadshowy as possible here. So
hopefully we'll have it aligned that they'll have their finals the same weekend as roadshow in future years coming up. Hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll hope to see that happen. Okay, so let's dive into it here, Iggs. So playoffs are now here. Les Bleus are a team to watch out for as they steamroll through the competition.
Yeah.
Are they your heavy favorites to win, or are they still in that position where maybe Les Bleus or any other team, maybe the 3 seed or whoever it might be, can upend the house of cards that we have lined up?
Yeah, look, I think they are the favorite. They proved it throughout the season. They had the chance to play against Bleu Pou, against Brut, the 2 and 3 seed right now, and they won. And they were close games, but they also took it. They were close games against Bleu Pou, I might specify. But this past week against Brut, they took it to them. I think Brut only put up 6 points. I think the score 30-something to 6.
39-6 final, and then he beat Griffins.
Yeah.
And beat Griffins 26-25 right afterwards.
Okay, so you see, like, even at teams like at the number 5 seed, like Griffins can pose a threat to Les Bleus, but that all that said, they are the favorite. I kind of like I watched Brut a couple times, and I love their offense, but I was surprised when I saw that Maud Lacasse had thrown 13 interceptions from at least the games. It must be all the games that I'm not watching, because she's putting the ball in place, right on the sideline where only her women receivers can make the catch and make a play on the ball.
Well, Iggy, look, there's 4 in this game, so there's 9 in all the others. So this is the sack conversation, but in reverse.
For Les Bleus, let's go back to Les Bleus for a minute here. They might be the most balanced team.
Yeah.
Because they have 4 players at 350 or plus for receiving this year.
That's crazy. Yeah.
They had 4 players at 5+ touchdowns. And that excludes like the bottom half of the receiving core that still put up monster numbers.
Yeah, that still put up 4, 3, 3, 2,
exactly,
160,
right? Like
165. Yeah.
You talk about, Renault or Badu or these guys, these young athletes here have showcased that if one option A or option B are compromised, C, D, or E can just to be as effective and win those football games for Les
not,
Bleus.
not only that, I mean, also the system that you have to run to have so many people not only open but also in your progressions and reads, right? Because every play you'll have like, you know, your first read, second read, etc. To go and have such a balanced approach to your offense is a commendment to either whoever's building your playbook or the quarterback who's reading it and actually executing it to make sure that everyone is getting an equal amount of touches to be able to put up these numbers.
So, but to counter that point, Eagle, right? Le Bleu, like how they've been, they give the least amount of points of defense, I think like 10 points per game. So could that be the factor in why they could upend Les Bleus when it comes down to it, if they do meet in the playoffs at some point, whether it's the finals or not?
So yeah. So I think so. When you have a defensive captain like Jasmine Farmer on the team, leading the team with five interceptions, and then the sacks coming by committee, from the likes of Sarah Berbiche, Catherine Gaumont, Mathilde Sibyl, and Laurie Scott. I think that's a good recipe to upend. I mean, the thing you need to do to beat a balanced offense is to have equally balanced defenders. And while I think, Jasmine Farmer, Tamara Journeau, even Mathilde Sibyl, despite, 0 interceptions, I think 3 very good defenders like that is just not enough when it comes to matching the firepower of Les Bleus.
And Mo, kind of to your point, if you're actually looking at Les Bleus' schedule, I have it on the screen here. Against Bleu Pou, they scored a season-low 27 points. That was only 1 point higher than this past week, where they got 26 against Griffins. But that was also in a doubleheader, right? So, you could argue, like, had they been fresh, that number could have been way higher at that point. So,
but let's not forget.
Les Bleus Pou has been the closest to shutting down Les Bleus as is going to get.
Les Bleus Pou with Bransard as a quarterback is putting up as big of numbers as a quarterback with the way she's thrown the ball. Almost 1,900 yards passing, and I think over 35 touchdown passes so far this year.
Yeah.
So they probably have the equalizer of the quarterback position. I think what it might come down to, if they are going to meet, is going to be defense. And who can come up with that big turnover that can change the game's dynamics on a whim.
And Mo, looking at the receiving yards here for Bleu Pou, that's
they're equally
arguably
balanced.
Equal or better than what Les Bleus had.
They have 5.
they kind of cancel each other out with their offenses. It's not like the margin of error is razor sharp with these two teams on offense.
Yeah. So it might come down, like you said, to the defensive effort.
Yeah, it might come down. But below them, though, Iggs, do you see any team, whether it's the Flamand Rose, the Griffins, Concordia, or even the Rock, any of these lower end seeds that can kind of rock the boat with a couple of missiles being launched from their warship to get into that conversation of an upset or two along the way?
Yeah, there's actually 2 teams. There's, fan of the show and fan of her quarterback work. We had Sarah Parker on here last week. Whenever you have a flag football tournament winner in the United States quarterbacking your team, I think you always have a shot at taking down and slaying the Giants. So give me Concordia. And the second team is the Griffins. They actually have one of the leaders of offensive stats on their team. I'm just getting that up now. She, I believe, has the most receiving yards, most touchdowns. Even adds 70 yards of running ability on the ground. Catherine Aimbo, with her 48 receptions, over 500 yards of offense, 16 touchdowns. So I like Concordia, and I like Griffon making waves in the playoffs if there was going to be any of the teams.
I think Concordia is underachieved. We spoke about that before. We thought coming in, PZ and I in particular, we thought Concordia would run the show because of who they have. But I think they kind of had some humble pie served to them. And And look, whatever road they have, it's not going to be easy. They're going to have to go through one of the big hitters of that division in the first round of the playoffs. And that won't be easy, and that's why I just think Griffins could be a team to watch out for. Fleming Rose has been intriguing for what they've done so far this year. And I'm not saying that we kind of have an idea who could be the two teams that go to the finals, but I don't know if there will be a plethora of upsets, right? Like, which turns the whole thing upside down where we don't know who's going to win from one. Like, there might be an idea that we know who the favorites are going to be that will advance deeper into the playoffs than before.
Yeah, I'm just going with the Tom Brady theory. If you have Tom Brady on your team, there's always a chance. So if you have Sarah Parker on your team, I think there's always a chance.
Right. In Tier 2, the Volts, they've run through this competition here. So is there any team that you think can compete with them at this juncture of the season, Eggs?
Yeah, look, I don't think so. They despite being, really young athletes, and like a young football program, my God, they were one of the most impressive teams I saw, from week 1 to week 8. Not in terms of progression, but from just week to week, how consistent actually they are, and how they might be the most organized, disciplined, and just focused team out of all of the teams that I saw in the women's division.
Right.
It led them to, beating all Tier 2 teams, no problem. So you know what? It's sad to say that I think that we're not handing them the trophy. They're going to definitely earn it. But I just don't see the other teams in Tier 2 giving them any run for their money.
All right, let's get to the awards because we're at the end of the year now, and we did speak about the quarterback battle with the top 2 hitters of this division here. So, Iggs, if you have to give out the Iggies, as we'll call them, who is your quarterback of the year?
Yeah, you kind of alluded that Emmanuelle Bransard had a really great season, and she did. I'd say it's between her and Sandrine Gobey-Huot of Les Bleus. I gotta give it to Gobey-Huot. She put up 3 more touchdowns, 37, the same amount of picks, 3, very low as Bransard, and did 30 less yards, but did it all in 1 less game. So just on a per game standpoint, Sandrine Gobey-Huot would be with a 124.6 quarterback rating. That's my quarterback of the year in women's division.
Okay, so for defensive player of the year, who do you have winning this award?
Look, that one too. It's tough, but we talked about this in co-ed. If we do a quick analysis here with Melina Gagnon of the Rock getting 10 sacks, when you compare that to Laurie Saint-Pierre and Ophélie Richard, seven interceptions, you see that one's too close. It's too close to the 1-to-1 for interceptions to sacks. The interceptions literally give you the ball back, turn over the ball in your team's favor. Laurie Saint-Pierre of Concordia did it in 5 games, but Ophélie Richard got her 7 picks, yes, in 7 games. So, averaging still a pick per game, but got a pick 6, if I'm not mistaken, in there. 2 pick 6s. Laurie got 1. I like the per game output though of Laurie Saint-Pierre. So give me Laurie from Concordia.
And Catherine Imbo, are we looking at as hers the outright winner of the Receiver of the Year award?
Yeah, like I alluded to before, she just completely blew the competition out of the water, and in terms of an individual standpoint. Her 16 TDs, 500, the only receiver with 500 yards in the women's division. Although respect to Caroline Moquin-Joubert, she was 5 yards short of that feat. But leader in every single category.
That's just a scorekeeper not being nice about it, Mo. 5 yards.
I haven't done the scorekeeping for the women's game, so you can't blame me for that one.
Neither do I. I don't do the women's scorekeeping. That's not me. But yeah, Catherine Imbo. It's if we were to give a receiver of the year award, which we do offensive player of the year, yeah, receiver would be Catherine Imbo of Griffon.
All right. And now we're in playoff mode. So May 2nd is the finals for the women's final. And stay tuned. We have something cool for you guys lined up for the finals at Stade de Montréal. No? Is that what it is, Eagle?
Yes.
I believe so,
yeah, Stade de Montréal, right? So
yeah.
we'll be there for finals on May 2nd. All right, 35 plus. Big news coming up for 35 plus here, Iggy, that JLE will be back at the quarterback position for the Shenanigans, who missed his services for pretty much the entire season. So how big of an impact or how big of an addition is he back to the Shenanigans?
Yeah, huge. You know, their 1-7 season now doesn't mean doesn't look as bad when he comes back into the lineup. So he played the first 2 games of the season and actually played, was it last night? April 13th. Yes, that's last night. He actually played last night and kept the game against the Old Age Outlaws to 5 points. So he looked comfortable. What was his stat line? I'm going to open it up here. I think he had 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So here's
a little tip for you, Iggs, right? You buy time by saying, you know what, Ellie had a pretty solid game in terms of what he did. You just buy that time as PZ would do, right? And then bam, you go 4 touchdowns for JLE and stuff.
Yeah, 4 touchdowns, no interception. So he actually played a cleaner game than I remembered. That, like I said, the 1-7 record doesn't really matter now that it's playoff time and it come in 35 plus.
Okay, so for the awards now, quarterback of the year, Jason Rossi or Stephen Haraprasad, and this is now 35 plus, not the higher division that we normally see these guys play in.
Right, which it's it's cool to see that they're willing to come down into the 35 plus and put up the same numbers that they do in the higher divisions. Let's see here. Rossi's thrown a couple more picks. He played a full more game. Yeah, man, but he has like 200 more yards. Same quarterback rating pretty much. You know what? Stephen Haraprasad's been running away with a lot of these quarterback of the year awards. Give me Jason Rossi in this one.
Yeah, I think he's got better numbers. I know if you prorate Stephen Haraprasad's numbers, he might jump for touchdowns and yards passing, but of course we don't do that here.
You just don't know, right? He could also put up a 1 touchdown performance, 3 interceptions. Very unlikely, but we just don't prorate.
Exactly.
You never know.
Last but not least, quickly here, Eggs, is our boy Jim Calathris going to win or be in the conversation of defensive player of the year with his 6 sacks?
So again, it's the sack conversation today in calling the audible.
It's a good topic though, right? When you think about it, though, regardless of who it is.
Yeah. Look, he's in the conversation, but not as much even as Jessica Bostapin, even if she had 11. Look, he has a pick in there too, with 5 PDs. So that ups his chances just a little bit. But the leaders in interceptions with Adam Talk, Scott Binns at 5 and 4 respectively, Glenn Cooper even with 4 as well.
What about James Acker? What about James Acker, right? 10 PDs, 3 INTs.
The PDs to me are just a pick that you didn't that you didn't catch. I like more the. You know what though? He still did get 3 interceptions. That's just 2 less than Adam Talks. So you know what? He could be in the conversation. I just like turnovers and I like pick sixes. Those are hard and tangible things. They're turnovers and possessions that you give your quarterback, or they're points that you directly put up on the board. So
right.
I like Adam Talk. I like even Scott Binns probably more than Adam as the front runner right now. But GM's in the conversation.
All right, it is now time for
Games of the Week. You
We're
won't
not
hear
gonna
the music, but you
Yeah.
have to trust the fact that it's playing. So we're
All
gonna
right.
go
Yeah.
through these.
No problem.
We actually have less games than normal because of the fact that some divisions
Easter.
have very few games, or some divisions are done until not this week, but the week after. So between Easter break and the scheduling, it'll be a little bit less, which is nice. So we're gonna go
Yeah.
Division 1 and 2, Incredibles, Outlaws.
Ooh, Outlaws.
Outlaws.
KGP, Terror Squad.
The big one. I'm gonna go KGP.
Yeah, I'm going KGP as well.
Urgence Medic, All Hooks.
UM.
You know what? Give me all hooks in this one. I like all hooks.
All right. Division 3, Les Gros Coq and Lightweight.
LGC.
LGC.
And Sheesh, Speed Academy.
Sheesh.
Give me shish.
Okay, 4A, Les Bleus Branleurs and Mongoose.
Mongoose.
Give me mongoose.
Small Giants and Nomads.
Small
No,
Giants.
small giants.
4B, Sphinx, Aruch.
Arush.
Aruch.
Team Ethnic, Eastside Boys.
Eastside Boys.
Yeah, I don't like the way Ethnic's been fumbling and bumbling.
They are going the wrong direction right now.
Eastside boys.
And then a kind of doubleheader, there's an hour in between. Eastside Boys, Golden Eagles.
Eastside Boys.
No, give me Golden Eagles. Let's go. Sarah Parker, Golden Eagles.
All right, we got 5A, Wubba Lubba Dub Dubs, Longhorns.
Dubs.
Yeah, the Dubs.
Goofy Goobers, Kings of the North.
Goobers.
Goofy.
And Step Bros, The Reet.
Reet.
I don't know why, but I say it like this. The Reet.
All right, 5B, Air Force One, Trailer Park Boys.
AF1.
AF1.
Red Dragons, Cookers.
Dragons.
Yeah, it's a close one. We talked about it before. Give me Red Dragons. Close game.
Not Mustangs, Save the Turftles.
Turftles must win for them.
Yeah, save the Turftles.
What could have been's Lockdown.
Lockdown.
One of the better teams, one of 3 better teams than Lockdown. Give me what could have been.
Bin, Save a Horse.
Save a horse.
Save that horse, baby.
Warriors, Trap Stars.
Trap Stars.
It's outdoors. Give me Trap Stars. Close
Division
game.
6, V-Town, Thunder Buddies.
B-Town.
Thunder Buddies. Whoa.
Lionhearts,
Whoa.
Flag Football Team.
Lionhearts need the win.
No, flag.
7th Rounders, Toon Squad.
Toon Squad.
Oh, it's gonna be close, but 7th rounders.
Big Fat Bats, Maccabees.
Maccabees. Upset.
The Big Fat Bats. Yeah, give me the favorite.
The Step Bros, Glory Boys.
Step Rose.
Glory Boys.
Dusters 2.0, FKU.
FKU.
Henry Peace Gang, Dusters 2.0. Kind of doubleheader, there's an hour in between.
Dusters 2.0.
Dusters 2.0.
Flamingos, West Island Boys.
West Island Boys.
Yeah, the West Island Boys.
Wild Hogs, Team Poland.
Hogs.
Wild Hogs.
Tout Garni, FKU.
FKU.
FKU 2 wins.
Primetime, Betway Bandits.
Prime time.
It's close. Betway Bandits, but it's close.
All right, and 4 games left. We got the 35-plus semifinals. Monster Shenanigans.
Monsters.
Monsters.
Pacemakers, Brody Windsor.
Tastemakers.
Yeah, Pacemakers. Yeah.
FPF, JMJ.
FPF.
Yeah, give me Jeff Rosenblatt, FPF.
And Montreal Spitfire, Old Age Outlaws.
Old age.
Ooh, yeah. Yes, Old Age Outlaws.
And for co-ed and women's division, there's no games this week. They are going to be the week after that, so we'll do those predictions when we get to that point. So that's it for Games of the Week.
Perfect. All right. A reminder for the teams out there. The bubble games at Lachine and St. Leo, the Bubble Domes, are now done. We are outdoors. We were outdoors as of this week, but now we're fully outdoors for some games as of Monday for the remainder of the regular season. So please double check your schedule if you're playing Monday, Wednesday, or Saturday, that you know where you're going to be playing, because all the outdoor games are going to be funneled towards Loyola. So please double check that when you get ready for your games left over in the season.
And I would also remind captains and players in general to check the roster rulebook, regulations, and administrative guide on what to do for bad weather. Because, spoiler alert, if it's not that bad, we play anyways.
Like yesterday or Wednesday, where it was pissing rain outside.
That might have been a rain out, but it depends.
Could have been. So Pease will be back next week. Are we back in the armpit?
I mean,
container?
that's the goal. We have to do our
the goal.
Easter episode.
Yeah, we just wanted to take it a little bit more cautious, given what has happened for a bunch of us the last couple weeks. But we should be back here. But Iggs, you'll be back replacing yours truly on the 28th of April.
Okay, cool.
And May 5th as well, because I have a banquet as well. So
Look at you. Look at you.
Yeah.
Oh,
So the rotating cast of characters here. Eagle, any last words that we need to remind teams? We're good?
I was going to say goodnight, Moskva, but too political, question mark?
Yeah. Magic words, please.
From all of us here at the Week Extra Point Live.
Good night, Austin, Texas. Hook 'em horns.
Good night.
Smell like the